There we go. Hey, Dyslexiella. Hey, PK. Seems to be taking people time to get in here. Gillface, hello. So how's everyone doing? Hey, Amy. Ooh, library. Oh, public freakout? What happened, PK? Libraries aren't normally places for freakouts. Don't remember her Gmail password. Shitty. Hey, Blumpkin. Ooh, nice, Dyslexiella. Where were you visiting in Canada? Bubble tea? My day? It was same as usual. St. Catharines? Cool. St. Catharines is a nice place. Alright. Sitting at 10 viewers right now. Or 12 viewers. Suppose I should give a few more minutes for more people to come in. See if more people are going to come in. Hey, Anatolia. Hey, Shiara. On another note, last night I started watching a Let's Play of Final Fantasy X2. What a weird-ass beginning. Except for, it'll be nice to have the move over and done with. But yes, it is too much work. It is a pain in the ass moving. So it'll be nice to have it done over and done with. My plan for today is to hopefully finish this game. Hey, Missy Moo! So yeah, hopefully I can finish the game today. I figure there's a pretty good chance that I'll be able to. But we'll see. Anatolia, the new kitties haven't met. The new kitties haven't met the old kitties. I'm guessing they probably won't get along very well, honestly. I don't expect them to get along well, but we'll see, I guess. Amy, they come with the new house. There's 2 cats who are going to come with the new house. We agreed to take care of them for the owners. Hey, Jessica. Very cool. Kinda, yeah. Alright. And, alright, so 10 minutes, so. Hey, J-Dot. Airbnb. No. Hey, Jordan. No, it's not an Airbnb. Yeah. Alright, so we've hit 10 minutes, so let's get started. Back to chapter 3. Is it creeping yet? It's kind of supposed to. The first candle is lit. This candle is storage. The love for familiars. The cleanest love. Rosa stared at the blue candle glowing in her hand as she chanted her spell. Trust is the veil that conceals and deceives. Trick his eyes and his heart with the warmth from this candle's flame. A bond of blood like kin will be forged. Weave this trust so his tongue will yield to what is sought. Rosa stood by Catherine's tomb, nursing memories of her. The soft wind lightly blew her hair. That's nice, Jessica. I hope it does help you sleep. Alright, so we're back to the future, I think. It reminded her of Catherine and her playful ways. Tears sprouted from her eye. Karaoke, nice. Even the wind. Hey, Hot Mess Life. Man, I know I've been playing the mom as kind of a... I know I've been playing the mom voice as evil, but... Chibi? Very little Chibi. Like, I've just started the... I've just, It's gold? Yeah, I guess. I've just gotten back into it. Instead of staring into space, why not do something useful? Find out about that marquee. Please, Mother. Not right now. How dare you talk back to me? Well, aren't you an ungrateful little worm? How dare you talk back to me like that? Hey, Feeder. I'm sorry, Mother. I am just upset. Even in her death, this Catherine still manages to offend me. Good riddance. Rosa. Guillaume's soft voice came from behind. Rosa glanced at him in acknowledgement. Ring of Power? No. Glad you enjoyed it, I guess. He stood quietly beside her for a few moments, but ventured to speak. Have you thought about my offer? My house is always open for you. Remember that. I'm sorry for my outburst back then. It's nothing. The wind played around their feet, and Rosa pictured Catherine as part of the breeze, playful and free. Mommy issues? Yep. She was free from the pain and confusion that had plagued her in her last days. Hey, Addison. They stood beside each other in solemn reverence. Finally, Rosa broke the silence. She was my family. I was in pain before she came along. I didn't know any better. She gave me hope. She was bright, like a flame. When I close my eyes, I can still see the imprint of her light in the darkness. I can feel her warmth. A star. They didn't speak again for some time. Guillaume cleared his throat. I was an orphan too, much like you. I know what it feels like to lose too much. I wondered for a long time before I found anything to live for. Were you alone? Sometimes. Always. Rosa nodded. Did you have family? Guillaume shifted uncomfortably. No, I never knew them. Much of my memory of it is blurred. I was taken in by kind people once before, but... Guillaume sighed, and Rosa observed a certain disquiet in him. I didn't belong. But you have no difficulty mingling with people? That's more necessity than preference. But either way, it can be quite tiresome after a while. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I am making the mood worse. I'm sorry. I don't mind. Guillaume had never opened up to her about his past before, and it worried Rosa how little she actually knew about him. Anyway, would you like to go around town? I'd very much like to take you someplace more cheery. How about our favorite spot? Guillaume smiled with understanding. The pair traveled up a hill at the edge of town. There, the view overlooked the quaint village. The sunset painted everything in the pink glow of dusk, of endings. It is always so beautiful here. They used to spend time in this grassy knoll, the three of them. It was their own little hideaway. Memories of the past crept up on every corner. The ghost of laughter echoed in the wind. Rosa touched the trunk of the small tree they had carved their names on. So many fond memories. Rosa, I want you to have this. Guillaume took Rosa's hand and placed an item in her palm. It was a simple silver locket. She looked up at him questioningly. I have had that for as long as I can remember. One of my remembrances of the past. I can't take this. You must. You need it more than I do. But it's old, and the locket doesn't even open anymore. I don't know why I've held on to it for so long. I can't even remember how I came to have it. Hey, Rusty. But it comforts me. Maybe it will have the same effect for you. This is your treasure, Guillaume. It feels wrong to take it. On the contrary, I believe you must have it. We're not talking about that shit tonight, Rusty. I am not good with expressing sorrow, or even giving comfort. But I want to do something, at least. For you. He closed his hand over hers, affirming the gift. It's yours. Please take it. Hey, Elaine. You are wrong if you think I am letting you stay in the manor simply for Catherine's sake. I do it of my own accord. Let me do this for you, Rosa. We have been friends for quite a while. If you need to leave, at least stay until you feel ready to go. All right. But I will continue working in your household for my lodging. You don't have to do that. I can raise your status to a lady. You can read and write now, and very well. I'm sure you will be more comfortable in a higher position. I have no need for a higher position. Just free access to your library. You've come a long way from the shy girl back then, Rosa. Watching you grow has been a pleasure. Yes, the library is yours. They were quiet for a while, only conversing through looks, smiles, and tiny sighs. Rosa realized that she had been holding on to Guillaume's hand all that time. She broke off from his hold, rather embarrassed. We should head back. You're right. It's getting quite late. Guillaume walked over to the carriage to get it ready. Excellent child. Being a maid in his household will give you free access to the rooms. He trusts you completely. It seems that the candle worked. I guess so. Rosa looked at the silver necklace in her hand. Open it. Open that locket. It is his possession. I want to use whatever means necessary to bring him down. Rosa fiddled with it, trying to open the lock. She fussed with the pendant for a while, but like Guillaume said, it was stuck. I'll try again later, Mother. I'm rather curious about it myself. The spell will start its effect in stages, gradually uncovering his true face. Fondness first, then trust. Familiarity. Rosa sighed. But was the spell necessary at all? Didn't she already have that with Guillaume? Rosa bit her lip, remembering the warmth of his hand. They had known each other for a long time. It was rather comforting to have someone to mourn with. However, Rosa did find it strange that Guillaume rarely even mentioned Catherine anymore. It was as if he was shedding her off like skin. Again, the pain in her throat resurfaced. The memory of the needles made her stomach lurch. Since her friend had died, the Marquis had begun spending all his hours locked in his office. I haven't, J. He barely showed himself socially, rarely even attended meals. But they were casting a powerful spell, something that might harm Guillaume. What if he was, after all, innocent? She had years of good memories with him. What was she even expecting to find out? Exactly how could she live with the guilt of two dead friends? Rosa sighed. She cared for him. Despite all the suspicions, she knew that much. But Mother was adamant. 3 candles for 3 loves. A fitting curse for a man who frolics in love's domain. Storge, the love for familiars. Philia, the love for friends. And Eros, the love for lust. Open his heart with Storge. Unmask him with Philia. Strike him down with Eros. Yet Rosa kept a 4th candle. One she had named Agape. Unconditional love. She didn't know whether she would ever use it. Mother, of course, would object. But just in case Eros successfully struck Guillaume, she wished to light Agape. At least give him peace before... Rosa walked to Guillaume, a pang of anxiousness biting at her. Guillaume does seem kind of suspicious, though. He does seem kind of sus, Chibi. Rise, my daughter. The work lays ahead. To bring him down, we must find his weakness. Then we attack. Revenge will be sweet, my dear daughter. Do it for Mother. Chapter 4. Metamorphoses. The 2nd candle is lit. Its name is Philia, the love for friends. The yellow candle shone and danced with her breath. Let this candle burn until its wick is spent. Encourage friendship. Bring forth memories. Let me walk in his halls without any suspicion. Let me rummage through his belongings invisibly. His journal. He guards his journal fiercely. I must find it. Rosa adjusted her coat as she sat on one of the reserved seats. The theater was packed. The air buzzed with excitement. She hadn't expected this many people would come tonight. Oh, Mother, I wish they would stop staring at me. And why not? This was Madame Catherine Peride's first solo concerto. So, back in the past, back when Catherine was still alive. Her name had been slowly gathering recognition the past few years. It was feasible to expect a full house. Still, the turnout was more than they had expected. Paris had taken Rosa and Catherine by surprise. The sheer number of people and their liveliness were well above the usual sights of their small town. Catherine was obviously thrilled with the opportunity to play in such an esteemed venue for her debut. Rosa tried her best to keep her anxiety under control. This was for Catherine. Yes, for her. This was her night. Rosa took a deep breath and released it slowly. It relaxed her. I hope the show starts soon. Rosa's eye drifted towards the stage, and then to the throng of people gathered on the far left. In the middle of the huddle stood a familiar shape of a man. He had his back to her, but the posture and the build were unmistakable. That is Guillaume. Her heart made a sudden, gleeful jump. She was delighted that he had made it to Catherine's show. He had been traveling extensively recently. What if she walked over and made sure? Guillaume would treat her kindly. Greet her kindly. She was sure Catherine would be thrilled to know he was here. Rosa pondered for a bit, reminded of a sudden wince of pain. Soon, the master of ceremonies obliged people to take their seats. Guillaume turned around and walked towards her. He stopped midway and took a seat without noticing her presence. Rosa seemed deep in thought. What's wrong, sweetheart? Is something bothering you? Nothing, Mother. Don't lie to me. I just didn't expect to see him here, that's all. Oh, I see. It is the same problem, isn't it? Are you worried about Catherine now that he's here? That filthy man again. I'm sure Catherine will be pleased. Whatever will she think now that her lover is back? I bet she would rather spend all her time with him as usual. My poor darling. Always running after her star. I wonder how long until she is tired of you constantly tagging along. You brag to me that you share everything like sisters. Does that include Guillaume too? Oh, you are making your life so complicated, darling. Why do you even bother yourself with these people? It is obvious she will abandon you. She will obviously abandon you when they get together. They make such a lovely pair. Rosa winced at Mother's voice, as if it were nails grating on a wall. It is only a matter of time, isn't it? What will you do then? Aren't you tired of being the third wheel? It's not like that, Mother. We're friends. Friends? Darling, friendship is nothing but a shallow kind of relationship. People change friends as easily as the weather. You don't even remember the friends you make at a certain age. Family is more important. I'm the only one who will care for you forever, darling. A mother's love will endure. This bond can never be broken by time or absence. Family lifts you up. It saves. Of course you feel this way. You see them often. But when you lose touch, you're left with nothing but a collection of strangers. And believe me, my dear, they will leave. They always leave. You amuse them now, but soon they will abandon you too. Rosa's tongue felt bitter in her mouth. She was filled with annoyance for her mother. Wasn't happiness as fleeting as friendship? Yet it was not any less real than sadness. Yes, family was important. These familial bonds kept her from losing herself. It was her rock, her foundation. But were these bonds the only constant value? These friends. These were people who accepted her. They shared laughter and tears, their own regrets and dreams. In her heart, she had found a home with them. What more was needed? Rosa's confused feelings began to arrange themselves neatly in her mind. Guillaume and Catherine's happiness was important to her. That was the main thing. She knew they felt the same way for her. Her insecurities were real, but they were insignificant. If anything, they were bittersweet. She had no regrets. For the first time in her life, she wanted to talk back to Mother. She bit her lip, quelling the nerves as she opened her mouth to speak. Hi, Ghoul. Hey, Leah. I know that. What? I know they might abandon me one day for whatever reason. It might be today, or next year, or even sooner. But that doesn't matter in the long run. I am happy with them. We've had years together that I will treasure. Like I treasure memories of you too, Mother. My memories of you keep me sustained. That is why I love you. The years we spent together, no matter how fleeting, are still worth something. So let me care for them right now. Everything changes, but nothing is lost. Hey, Barbara. Rosa was sure she had read it somewhere. Rosa waited for Mother to answer with a vicious voice, to burst out screaming at her cheekiness. But no voice came. Rosa smiled to herself. The lights dimmed. A low hush descended on the pews. Soon, Catherine entered. Soon Catherine entered, clad in the loveliest gown and an even lovelier smile. She was beautiful. She belonged on the stage. The lights shone on her, but they paled in comparison to her radiance. Catherine bowed to the audience and took a seat in front of the piano. She began to play. Rosa gripped the handle of her seat. She felt surges of emotion with every note. There we go. There's music. A kind of energy passed through her, touching her skin and making her break into goosebumps. Oh, Catherine. Rosa hadn't known of such an effect before this moment. Music that could so strike the heart as if it was fiddling with the soul. It was different from practice, different from when she was performing in front of smaller groups. This was a stage, and here was a woman with strings. She was tugging the right keys, touching your heart, and electrifying your soul. Rosa realized she wasn't alone in this feeling. The whole room was mesmerized. She looked at the lady beside her seat. She had her hand to her open mouth. A teardrop dangled precariously on her eye. The man to her left seemed to have forgotten to blink. Rosa beamed and savored a rush of kinship with them. They were experiencing the same emotions with her. It made her love them just a little bit. Rosa closed her eyes and savored the night. A bead of sweat fell from Catherine's chin. She was out of her body now. Her stress from the beginning of the show had thawed and turned into passion. It ran down her fingers to the keys. It did not escape Catherine's notice that most in the crowd came to the show to gawk at her. Catherine Peride, the one that the infamous Marquis de Goulle had been courting for years? Didn't he pay for this event? Lucky broad. Catherine Peride, I heard she was some pianist. Any good? Who knows? Must be. Hey, Clyde. Catherine Peride. Some female pianist. Pretty face, nice flesh on her. Let us watch her show. Her fingers caressed the keys, playing them with the force of her heart. Did she play to prove them wrong? Her music saturated the theater with her fervor. No, not to prove them wrong. To set it right. Catherine Peride is my name. I am more than just a pretty face. And I am playing this piece for you. It is my gift. Let me touch your soul. Rosa felt her eye get moist. This was Catherine's heart transcribed into music. All energy and beauty with the strength of the wind. The mischief of a sudden gale that whips at ladies' skirts and tips gentlemen's hats. The cold breeze that carried the loneliness of the coming winter. Everyone in the audience felt it. Rosa searched for Guillaume's face in the darkness. She couldn't see him clearly, but it didn't matter. She knew what he was feeling. She felt it too. Rosa's heart began to ache. It was a sting she didn't know how to name. After the show, Rosa greeted Catherine in her backstage dressing room. She was smothered in flowers from the audience. Sweat glistened on her forehead. Catherine gave her a tight hug. Congratulations, Kath. You were marvelous on stage. Thank you, Rosie. Catherine covered her cheeks with her hands. I'm still shaking. The excitement from the stage hasn't left. Look at my hands. Haha, oh dear. So I would call this show a success, yes? Pour the champagne, chérie. It is a night to remember. Catherine and Rosa hugged again. Let me just finish up here, Rosa. Then we'll celebrate properly. Two young, ravishing ladies sampling the best of what Paris has to offer. I like it. Rosa laughed. Just don't let go of my hand. You might get lost being so starry-eyed. Hey, Mother Hen. She was teasing, but smiling brightly all the same. I would never. Anyway, shall I meet you outside in a few minutes? Very well. I'll see you later. Rosa was thankful to leave the backstage area. She had almost forgotten her anxiety during the show, but the backstage was an ill reminder of the crowd. She looked forward to the night ahead, wondering vaguely why she hadn't mentioned Guillaume's presence to Kath. She shrugged it off. It had simply slipped her mind, that was all. Catherine went back to her dressing room, humming as she was about to grab her coat. She wasn't the least bit tired. Visions of the city, exploring new sights and gaining experiences made her giddy with excitement. Hi, Kira. It will end the night on the best note, she was sure. A small knock interrupted her thoughts. OnlyFans? I don't think so. Not for me. Who's there? Catherine turned around and the cheerful smile froze on her face. The Marquis peeked from the open door and stepped inside. Hello, Kath. A tingling passed through Catherine's neck. Although she was aware he had returned, this was the first time she'd seen him in 2 years, after she rebuked his intentions of wooing her. Hey, Aunt Janet. Catherine shook her head at the memory. They grew up together. It was normal to develop feelings for someone you shared most of your life with, was it not? Yet Catherine had promised herself not to dabble with the Marquis. With all the rumors and the past flings, she knew too much. Too close, too complicated, she had reasoned. The rumors were still alive in some circles. But hadn't Guillaume come clean with his romantic escapades? Hadn't he vowed to be faithful since he had made his intentions clear? Who to believe? Perhaps it was possible that... Catherine pushed away the insinuation of that last thought and rearranged her face into a merry smile. She curtsied. My Lord Marquis, thank you for coming. That last bit came out too loud in her ears. It felt like her voice was compensating. She suppressed a groan. I hope you found the show satisfactory? My Lord Marquis? What happened to Gilly Monster? At once, the memories flooded her mind. That used to be her greeting every time she had visited him back then. She would scream that when she saw him, right before she flung her arms around his neck. Not every day, no, Mother Hen. Catherine didn't know what to do. Suddenly her hands, the hands that had never betrayed her, felt like they belonged to someone else. She cleared her throat and felt the smile harden on her face. Pardon my past slight, sire. I was a bit of a precocious child. After all, I must give my due respects to the sponsor of this event. Thank you, by the way. It didn't have to be so extravagant. Wasn't it your dream to play in Paris, Kath? I thought your debut would be the perfect opportunity to fulfill that dream. The Marquis stepped into her quarters and closed the door. Catherine flinched, afraid that the small room would draw them even closer. Just the effect that he wanted, probably. The sly fox. She floundered for a bit, and contented herself in fussing with the flowers on the table. She should chase him out. Why wasn't she chasing him out? Damn it, Catherine! I didn't think you'd be attending tonight, sire. Weren't you traveling? Yes, I was. But I wouldn't miss your concerto for the whole of France. Guillaume stepped forward. And it seems my investments were well placed. Guillaume drew closer to Catherine, so near that she could smell the mint in his breath. He appeared to reach out to her face, but changed direction at the last minute. Oh, these flowers are from the Duke. How pretty. He examined the card dangling a hair away from Catherine's ear, trying to look fascinated by the piece of decorative paper. Then he stepped back, grinning like an idiot. A tinge of red colored his cheeks. He really has great taste. Wherever did you learn that, you dork? If he thought that kind of ploy would make her swoon, then he was dead wrong. In fact, All it made her want to do was wipe that stupid grin off his face with the backside of the vase. Yes, he does, doesn't he? She gritted her teeth, unable to take the acidic edge off her voice. It wouldn't be so hard. All she had to do was grab the neck of the expensive vase and fling it at his head. She wasn't sure if the vase would break. Maybe not. Maybe she would need to hit him again for the full effect. Catherine, did you hear what I just said? Huh? I said, now that I'm back in town, would you consider playing for me again? No, Mother. No, Mother Hen. It was part of our original arrangement, after all. She felt the tendons in her neck tighten. I have a full schedule this week, sire, but I'll let you know when I'm free. Oh. Sire, I must retire for the night. I am exhausted from my performance, after all. Excuse me. Catherine turned around and went for her coat, but she felt Guillaume grab her hand. Wait. They stared at each other for a couple of seconds. Guillaume looked like he was about to say something. His mouth opened and closed, as if debating the correct words in his head. But he just dropped Catherine's hand a moment later. I'm sorry, you're right. You must be tired. His shoulders dropped. Catherine felt a tinge of disappointment, but she ignored it quickly. Guillaume let out a sigh. You know I'm not good at this, Catherine. Oh, what do I know? You seem to do just fine. You have an amazing track record. Huh? Catherine folded her arms over her chest with a pout. Oh, that? That is just because of my face. What? Most people think I am very deep and thoughtful when I stare at them like this. I just run with it. Catherine bit her lip to prevent the chuckle from escaping, but the laughter burst out from her. Before she could stop herself, a mischievous smile appeared on her lips. No, no. Actually, it is your inability to make big gestures, Gilly. Huh? Well, look at you. She copied his tight, alert posture. You stand stiff as a board. I guess it fools people into believing you are a graceful, dashing soul. Yeah. Maybe, Roxanne. Guillaume made a pout. But I am dashing, though. Au contraire, monsieur. I did have the misfortune of being victim to your dancing. Must you always bring that up? It was a long time ago. He looked so distressed that Catherine couldn't help but tease him further. I mourned the death of my little toe, sire. It was a traumatic experience. Before long they were laughing, like it was the most natural thing in the world. When did it change? Hadn't it always been like this? Catherine settled back into her own skin, mulling the confusion in her veins. Kath. She looked up at him. Her own emotions stung her. You can't keep running away from me. Hey, Bubbles. She sighed deeply. Her hands tightened around her resolve, or for lack of a solid thing to hold on to. Perhaps not, but I have already given you an answer. I am aware. I have tried to accept it. Please don't take offense, but I thought it would be easy. I left to clear my head, to fill my mind with other things. Traveling usually does the trick. For a while, at least, I thought I was successful. But even during my trip, I would catch myself thinking such absurd things like, I wonder what Kath will say when she sees that. No, I don't think Catherine will like this too much. Well, Kath used to say. It was funny, but also a little infuriating to know that you have never left my mind. So I wish I knew how to do this. He sighed. I am too used to people leaving me that I do not know how to quit on my own. It must bother you, the amount of lovers I had in the past. I am sorry for that. I almost wish I really was that adept. But like I have told you, most are simply rumors. The rest were people realizing I am not as interesting as they initially thought. Guillaume, they never stay long, Kath. One could say I'm amazing with first impressions. There is a nagging feeling that that's all I am ever good for. A sort of exotic trophy people like to collect for its sake, and then put aside when its novelty expires. I can't blame them. By now, I am quite sure that I am what is wrong. I must be better at letting people go. But you, please don't make me let go. You see through me, Kath. In your eyes, I feel like I am somebody worth loving. Is it any wonder I'd like to continue thinking of you fondly? Old habits die hard, I suppose. Catherine bit her lip. Those are impressive words, sire, but do you have a point? My point? It's simple, really. I don't think I'll be able to stop my feelings for you. You may reject me as many times as you wish. It will not change. I have already come to the conclusion that I don't mind. Until you find somebody else worthy, I will always be here. He shrugged. So, I propose that you either get used to me chasing you, or you give in to my dashing, toe-mashing charms. Catherine chuckled despite herself. Or I could just kill you with the Duke's fashionable vase. Please do not give my superior the pleasure. I would rather you rip my heart out of my chest and offer it as a dark sacrifice to the gods. Gory! Very poetic. Dashing points for you. You think so? I've been reading a lot of romance novels lately. What kind of romance novels are you even talking about? I must learn to be more suave to make the lady of my dreams swoon. Is it working? Catherine laughed. Hardly. I believe this is how they do it in the big finale. Guillaume cleared his throat and knelt down on one knee. He took Catherine's hand awkwardly, trying to act as natural as he could. His serious face made Catherine burst out laughing. What in the world are you doing, idiot? Stop laughing, madame. I must try this at least once. I'm simply concerned for an older gentleman and his knee. Will you be able to stand up from that position later, given your obvious grace? Terrible! Dare you call me an old man? I don't look my age, you know. Sure, sure. Oh, stop laughing, will you? I am trying to concentrate. He cleared his throat again. Will Mademoiselle Catherine Peride allow me an audience tonight? As such, perhaps she might allow me to stay by her side for a while longer. It would make me a very happy man. It was sappy and ridiculous, and yet hearing the words did stir Catherine's heart. They were giggling like fools now, like children, her heart heavy with love for him. Love? Did she just think love? Of course she did. She had always loved him. Why was she fighting her feelings again? The reason seemed unclear all of a sudden. All right, sire, your gallantry has convinced this lady to accept your offer for tonight. She bowed with an exaggerated curtsy. Guillaume took her hand theatrically as he stood up. This gentleman is relieved he didn't have to sing. A few rules for tonight. As we are in Paris, you must be on your best behavior. No embarrassing jokes like making friends with the street mimes. Agreed. As such, I must retire by 8. 10. 8. 9:30. 9. Take it or leave it. Guillaume grumbled, but Catherine just chuckled at his frustration. Fine. 9:15 it is. Sire, I meant 9 sharp. Guillaume's face brightened like a little boy's. Oh, I know where we can go. There is a quaint little piazza just south of here. They have a breathtaking view of the city. They're on a hill, you see. I know the owner personally, so we're already guaranteed the best seats. And they serve the best gratin. Gratin again? If you continue eating that every given opportunity, there wouldn't be any potatoes left in all of France. Catherine sighed. Why must he be so... This better not be a game like all your other flings, sire. I deserve to be treated like more than a prize. But Catherine watched Guillaume's face beam as he talked about that little house on the hill. How when the weather was perfect, the stars would soak the sky. She giggled to herself with fondness. What a dolt. A night in Paris and he would rather eat cheesed potatoes. It was just like him to pick the stars instead of the city, wasn't it? It pleased her to know that she adored this side of him that others did not see. But was this the real him? Did she really see through him like he said? Or was this a face he put on for her sake, like most flirts could? If it was, then she had been watching this face since she was a little girl. From awe to admiration, from friends to lovers. They had seen the best and worst of each other through the years. Surely there was something to that. Surely it couldn't all be a lie? Right? I'm sorry, I got carried away. Shall we go? Yes. Catherine grabbed her coat, and Guillaume took her purse. Oh, I almost forgot. Rosa is waiting outside. Then let us hurry and meet up with her. I haven't seen her for a long time. I missed her too. It will be a treat to spend the evening with two esteemed ladies. She'll be thrilled to see you. Just like old times, us three. Bubbles, it is a story. It's a visual novel. It does mean that there are points where you do get to make decisions that will slightly shape the story, but primarily it is a story. Yes. She slipped her hand on his arm nonchalantly and caught Guillaume smile to himself. At the very least, let that smile be real. How's that for a smash gut? You're lying! Lady Claudette saw you at Nimes. Tears and snot ran down her face. She is holding a vintage 1610 bottle of wine. She gripped the neck of the bottle and flung it at the wall where Guillaume was standing. He ducked just in time to avoid the glass. Cherie! Don't you sherry me, you bastard! Can we not take it out on my wine collection again? Catherine threw another bottle in response. Stop, Catherine! You're going to hurt yourself! Hurt myself? Like you care. You tell me you're off to Avignon last weekend, but you're actually in Nimes? Why are you making this into a huge deal? So I had to stop over at a neighboring town. It was a lie. It's a lie if you omit things. I told you at the very start of this relationship, Guillaume. I want 100% honesty from you. And I've told you as well. I have a reputation. Rumors follow me. Idle mouths can't help but chatter. Did you know that Lady Claudette once indecently proposed to me? And right in her husband's birthday gathering as well. So what? That is all beside the point. You know what they say. Where there is smoke, there is fire. How about a name to further torch the bush? Lalaine de Montclair? Lalaine is the shop girl of the town. A nice girl. Or at least, I surmise from all those 3 times I made the mistake to enter her shop, it looks like. Is there anything else you would like to insinuate? Oh, nothing at all, sire. Why, is there anything I should know? Guillaume sighed and tried to speak calmly. Darling, I promised you when we got engaged, didn't I? I will be faithful to only you. There is no one else. But Catherine gritted her teeth. Again with this. You are no clearer from a monkey's spit. Answer me straight, right now, yes or no. Are you having an affair? Guillaume threw his hands up in annoyance. God damn it, Catherine, I am not. I have already answered this. Lambo! Good to see you, Lambo. Why does it seem like you only hear what you want to hear? I just want to understand everything and make it crystal clear. Is that so bad? Now explain to me what Lady Claudette... Lady Claudette, you are taking that bitter, conniving woman's words over mine? Humph. Well, I try to get information from the source, but the source isn't very reliable. Guillaume's shoulders slumped in an irritated surrender. She heard him curse under his breath. I'm tired of this, Kath. This is a waste of time. What is the point of this if we keep going around in circles? Catherine snuffled, wiping her nose savagely with her hand. You always do this. You go off on a tangent and pick things apart. You don't even listen to my side at all. Could you stop acting like a child for 1 minute? Maybe then we can have a real conversation. A conversation with a liar is always one-sided. Catherine grabbed 2 bottles this time. What would happen if she brought the 2 bottles crashing in front of her? Would the pieces of glass stab her face? Her eyes, maybe? What a random thought. The morbid picture gave her an out-of-body experience. It was a nasty fight, depressingly familiar. But they were dancing to the same tune once again. Here be the lovers. Enter left, the hothead. Watch her dance with anger blazing. Tears are sparkling bitter rage. The fight goes on until she's spent. The reason's hazy in her head. Pan right, the rake. Both the victim and accused. Words are poison or an unlit fuse. Migraines taunt his pride and temper. He grudgingly takes on logic's mantle. The words they throw reach fever pitch. The dance will crest. He'll choose to leave. Enough of this, he says in rage. Temper rising. He exits frame. Her unspent fervor burning hot. She cries it off. That cowardly sod. What did you expect, she asks herself. He'll take abuse with a bowed head? The least he could do, her anger shouts. A hint of guilt, a hint of doubt. The migraine throbs as he is pacing. Annoyed and angered, his face aflush. Capricious woman, irrational. He shakes his head with a tired breath. Yet he basks in torture and savors the taste. This is love, he says. This is love, he nods. This is love, he says. I don't think you want this to be the ideal, Lamba. I don't think you want this to be how the relationship goes. Love and pain go hand in hand. It is painful, yes, but never bland. He nips a morsel and takes a bite. Exquisite, he trembles. A rush. A charge. He feels his heart is struck by love. Decides that it is worth the gripe. A dainty flower he must protect. To watch it bloom until it's ripe. But not right now, he says, still sore. His pride's too hard to swallow whole. Hours pass. He wouldn't call. She forms the words she knows will hurt. She plans to cut and make him bleed, yet when he arrives, she all but weeps. Why do you leave? I shouldn't have. Are you angry still? I'm here now, love. Her arms are snug upon his neck. He'll promise to change, to do what's best. For both their sakes, he admits he's wrong. A little lie to complete the song. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you... Love. See, that you gotta whisper. That you gotta stage whisper. Love. Just tell me when you're tired of me, or when you find some other pretty thing, you bastard. Catherine slipped back into her brain just as the last sentence left her lips. If you are going to leave me, then just leave. No, Zooms, we are not. Stop playing me for a fool. This was a new tempo. She dropped the bottles to her side, but did not let go. He noticed a change of song, and timed his step accordingly. I never once thought or treated you like a fool. Exactly, Ashley. Exactly, Lambo. I love you. I'm never going to leave you. New tears churn and bubble from her eyes. Liar. It was her turn to leave this time, and she did. He was left to perform a solo. Contemplation, regret, penance, a vow of new beginnings forming in his head. Kath? Rosie Wosie! Catherine stumbled into Rose's room that evening, drunk to high heaven. Her half-lidded eyes surveyed Rose's meager space. She let herself fall on the bed, regretting it instantly. The ceiling spun in a waltz of throbbing headaches and acid-laced throats. Bad idea. Catherine stood up, and her wobbly legs tripped her. Rosa caught her and sat Kath on her small bed. My goodness, you stink of alcohol. She propped some pillows behind her back and fixed the stray hairs that had littered her face. Thanks, hon. You're a dear. How much have you had, Kath? Catherine counted on her fingers. Never mind. Would you like some water? Nope. Interesting. Huh? I can almost hear liquid sloshing around in my brain when I shake my head. Rosa pursed her lips. Catherine was in no shape to make decisions right now. She stood up to get her something to sober up. But Catherine grabbed Rosa's hand and tugged at it gently. No, you. You sit. Please? Rosa complied. Catherine revealed a bottle about 3/4 full. Snuck another one from Gilly Monster's closet. Serves him right for calling me a child. Rosa began to protest. Catherine paid her no mind. Come on, Rosa. When have we ever drunk ourselves to the point of insanity? And I call you my best friend. Catherine took a huge swig of the bittersweet liquid and offered it to Rosa. Rosa examined it carefully and took a mouthful. She gargled it in her mouth, admiring the sweet and sour flavor of the wine. I've never had anything this rich before. Good, right? It had to be. It's the last bottle. So, had another fight with Shush! Bad wind follows that name. I am not talking about that egocentric pompadour tonight. We are going to drink. We are going to reminisce. And tomorrow we'll hate ourselves together. Agreed? Rosa giggled. If you say so. All right, last one. Rosa puffed her cheeks in mock disgust. Fine. How do you make holy water? How? Boil the hell out of it. Don't like it. Don't like that joke. Rosa and Catherine were assaulted by fits of hysterical laughter. Catherine felt the muscles of her cheeks ache. That is so bad. I don't even have the words. Catherine wiped the tears of laughter from her eyes. I heard that from one of your suitors, Sire Adrian. Rosa rolled her eyes. How come I always end up talking to your suitors more than you? Or how come I always end up talking to your suitors more than you? I must start charging you a fee. I'll pay it with my gratitude. What is wrong with Sire Adrian anyway? He seems like a nice man. Nice hair, nice teeth, nicely groomed mutton chops. The women laughed. How about Sire Ferrand? He sent you that lovely bouquet of flowers. I am not interested in a relationship at the moment. At the moment? You don't seem interested ever. I am. Sometimes. It is just hard to connect to people for me beyond physical. Relationships seem out of the question. You don't have any difficulty with me or that idiot in the upper room. It means you are not incapable. That is only because you are my closest friends. Well, there must be someone. Oh, you are so picky. If you go on like that, you might end up an old maid. So be it. I'd rather take care of your children anyway. I shall be an amazing godmother. Catherine smiled wistfully. I'm not sure I want any. What? Children. I love children, but it's a little scary. Catherine bit her lip. What if she becomes her own mother? It was such a terrifying possibility, wasn't it? She barely remembered her mother. Her melody had struck as soon as Catherine was born. She had never called Catherine by her name, not even on the day she had died. All she knew was that their family struggled with that crisis. Her father, exhausted and depressed, and her sister forced to grow up too fast. To be a blight to the people you love, how horrible would it be? How much of my own defects will I impress on my child? Catherine. Rosa smiled at her, interrupting her thoughts. You will be a good mother. Your past does not matter. Hey, Brooke! Catherine stared at Rosa, almost enchanted at her ability to know what she was thinking. She really was her best friend, wasn't she? The thought warmed her heart. You really think so? Yes. The fact that you are so concerned about them before they are even born speaks much of your care. Whatever happens, those children will grow up loved. Catherine blushed and changed the subject. Oh, we're out of booze. We finished it. I'm quite buzzed. Hey, remember the first time we drank? Do you mean the party or the potato incident? Of course I meant the potato incident. Oh, how can I forget? Rosa burst out laughing. That was hilarious. Wench, stop laughing. I almost went to jail. Goodness, I was so stupid. Rosa laughed again. Amen. Hey, you're supposed to say, no, Catherine, we do dumb things when we're young. Catherine, we do dumb things when we're young. It's about time you learn your lesson. I can't wait to tell your children endless tales of your shenanigans. Wench! Tut-tut! Catherine grabbed Rosa's waist and attempted to tickle her, but Rosa slipped away laughing. Catherine's stomach lurched, and she stopped, her hand still hugging Rosa's waist. The room spun, but it wasn't unpleasant. She felt like being gently rocked in a cradle. She closed her eyes and smiled. She took in Rosa's scent, always smelling slightly of apples. Rosa scratched her head and smoothed her hair. This is nice. Yes. Rosa. Thank you for being with me. Of course. No, I mean... She sat up on the bed. You've been with me all my life. You are my oldest friend. When we first met, I didn't have many friends. I just studied my piano lessons night and day because that's all I ever knew to do. It was all I had. Maybe that was why I begged Papa to let you stay with us. I was so happy. Rosa smiled fondly at the memory. You were there for me, always. Ugh, that sounds disgustingly melodramatic. You're drunk, I understand. They laughed again. Would you like to hear something worse? What? You changed my life. Ugh, that is worse. Rosa smiled fondly as she played with Catherine's hair. I'm the lucky one, Catherine. You took me home and treated me like I was family. I wouldn't have known what a real family was like without you, Papa Francois, and Emily. Even if Papa Francois always did avoid me, I knew he cared for me like his own. Yes. Why is that? That was why I liked him. He was a good man. And you know, Guillaume is almost family too. Catherine made a face at the mention of the man, but her eyes softened. I miss my father. Me too. There was a pause. Catherine shifted awkwardly in her skin. Can I tell you a secret? Of course. Guillaume and I, we haven't had intercourse. Recently? No, I mean, at all. Oh. Rosa cleared her throat. I see. After all these years? Well, we kind of try sometimes, but I always get freaked out. Rosa blushed. Her head knitted together images of the two people she considered her friends. Rosa tried to push them away, but all she was able to do was paint the warped fantasies in gossamer and fuzz. She cleared her throat. Is that why you have separate rooms even when we moved here to the chateau? No, that was his idea. He's very peculiar with his sleep. I imagine we'll be keeping the separate bedrooms even when we get married. I don't really mind. Well, your wedding is soon, isn't it? Perhaps you were just nervous. No, I don't think it's like that. Recently, we'd get intimate, but I always stop when things get too far. Oh. He gets upset sometimes, but he says it's all right. Catherine looked down ruefully on her toes. He doesn't push me into it. I should be glad. But don't you think it's strange? What if I stay like this even after we get married? I don't understand why. Sometimes I get these doubts, and I wonder why they are there. Isn't that unfair for him? I do love him. I know I do. I just feel like there is something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with you. But it makes me really insecure. This lack of, what if he's getting it somewhere else? It drives me crazy. And believe me, I want to. I just can't for some reason. I get this horrible feeling I can't explain. Rosa examined Catherine's face and came to a conclusion. It took me a while to understand sex. The sudden no-nonsense comment surprised Catherine. Rosa went on. I was the same as you. I had always had an adverse feeling for it. Like it's dirty and that I should be ashamed for enjoying it. I had always thought love would make sex clean. But that's not how it works. They are two separate things. So just because you don't like sex, it doesn't mean you don't love him, Kath. Catherine looked up at her. Thanks, Lambo. I try. Why do you even care so much to hurt him? What do you think love is? If you need time to understand sex further, then the best partner would be somebody you know who will take care of you and your feelings. That goes both ways, for you and for him too. The warm feeling returned to Catherine's heart. How do you do that? Huh? You always know the right thing to say. Always. Rosa blushed at this, suddenly aware that they were still in a loose tangle of an embrace. I've read a lot of smart books lately. She tried to diffuse the situation with a laugh, but Catherine didn't drop her look. Candlelight played pretty shadows on her skin. I have pets, Addison. Cats! It illuminated the glint in her eyes, the moist on her lips. Rosa felt the warmth of the alcohol rise up to her face. Her heartbeat increased steadily. Anyway, maybe you will feel better about it when you are married. You are probably just nervous about the whole thing. She made attempts to curl away from Catherine's arms. Slowly, subtly run away. Disperse the proximity. But she couldn't run away from her stare. Catherine's hand caressed Rosa's face. She touched her scars daintily, tracing them with her fingers. I feel like the most interesting thing about this scene right now, like something that's really interesting, sort of the music. There's like a little bit, there's just like this, yeah. Like you hear this? There's this undertone to the music. Yeah, you got the nice, sweet, romantic music up front, but there's like this eerie undertone behind it. You're really pretty, Rosa. Especially right now. Thank you, I think? You don't believe me. I don't think I am. I look in the mirror and I see a freak. Rosa! That's not true. It is fine. I liked being a freak. I wanted to be ugly. I used to bind my breasts and hide in the shabbiest clothes I could find. Rosa touched her eye. This was penance, she remembered herself saying, for being a sinner and a freak. Exactly, Brooke. Like, they got, like, just this little bit in the background to make it uneasy. For attracting attention and spite. For dressing nicely. For letting her hair grow long. But really, I did this to myself to hide. To hide? Rosa's mouth quivered. I thought people don't touch ugly things. But the truth is they do. So what I'd rather be is invisible. Catherine wrapped her arms around Rosa's neck. She heard Catherine sniff and wiped tears behind her embrace. She pushed Rosa's hair away and kissed her defective eye. You're not a freak, and you're not ugly. I love every part of you. They're all beautiful. Rosa forgot how close they were now, forgot Catherine's hands on her own. Here was somebody who accepted her, with all her faults and ugliness. You always made me feel I am worth something. Because you are. You are beautiful, Rosa, inside and out. Rosa saw her face reflected in Catherine's eyes. In them, she did indeed look beautiful. A lump formed in Rosa's throat. Catherine's face hovered above her cheek. She planted a little seed of a kiss on it, just barely away from her lips. Rosa kissed her nose in return. It made Catherine giggle. At first, the kisses were sweet, innocent. The kind of punch-drunk kisses that sent them both into bouts of giggling. But Catherine's hand caressed her neck. The kisses lingered. Lips melded. Hands explored. And Rosa sucked on Catherine's tongue inside her mouth. Wine, candle wax, spit. That was what it tasted like. Rosa's head began to swoon. Catherine's hand squeezed her right breast. Tripe, grapes, plush. And now it gets creepy. Rosa began to taste more of her. Longing, regrets, tears. A sensation of flavor she had never tasted before hovered at the edge of her tongue. Suddenly she was hungry for it. Take it all. Rosa savored the taste. She breathed deeply. All mine. Child, I want it. Her heart. I want her heart. Her love is sweet. If it makes you feel any better, Vanessa, it's getting a lot less erotic right now, isn't it? Listen to my voice. Mother? But I am so hungry. So hungry. Stop! Rosa flung her eyes open. A sinking feeling of menace overcame her. No! Rosa pulled away. She pushed Catherine away from her face. Catherine's eyes snapped open, startled by Rosa's outburst. Why did you stop? Greedy, selfish bitch! She blinked for a few seconds. A look of horror creeped on her face. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... No, Kath. Rosa couldn't stand the hurt in her eyes. She was probably blaming herself. Rosa wanted to shout how wrong she was, but the lump in her throat became a rapacious mouth. A tumor had grown inside of her. A parasite. She could feel it pulse and slither inside her neck. She couldn't speak at all. Catherine wobbled off the bed. She wiped her mouth and cheeks, which were covered with a thin layer of drool. I'm so sorry, Rosa. I'm going to leave now. Kath. Good night. Rosa should have followed her, but when she tried to stand, the floor twirled. She choked at the flavor left in her throat. Sick and cloying, sticky sweet like honey. The taste both repulsed and enticed her. Thick spit leaked out of her mouth. She felt the urge to vomit. This is nothing, Mother. Just a bad after effect of alcohol. No, please don't call me that. It was an accident. Everything is fine. She would talk to Catherine tomorrow, assure her that this was not her fault. Everything was fine. There was an urgent knock at Guillaume's door. The clock read 2:15 in the morning. He closed his journal and stood up from his desk. Yes, coming. He opened his door. Catherine stood in front of him, her cheeks stained with hastily wiped tears. Kath? Guillaume, can we talk? Oh, isn't it quite late? Please, it's urgent. All right. Guillaume led her inside. Lady, you smell like my vintage bottle of Bourgogne. Bourgogne? I don't know how it'd be pronounced. Did you get so drunk you actually thought of apologizing first? I didn't think it'd see the day. Darling, what's wrong? Catherine's thumb went to her mouth without thinking. How could she even begin to tell Guillaume what she had done? Honey, I was really upset with you today, so despite any good sense, I went and got myself drunk. This time, I dragged Rosa along with me. Things have a tendency to go out of hand when alcohol is involved, as you know. Long story short, I came onto Rosa. You know Rosa, the girl who is almost like my sister? Yes, I may have forced myself on her. And I did that right after she told me she has been abused before. She felt Guillaume's hand take her thumb away from her mouth. Kath. She looked at her fingers in horror. Her habit had surfaced again. She thought she'd gotten rid of this as she grew up. Well, Vanessa, we already know he's from further east. Probably somewhere from India, somewhere in that region. Replacing the nail biting with a meticulous, almost obsessive care for her fingers. My fingers are my livelihood. I must take care of them. Now the nails were chewed down to jagged stumps, and a couple of them had tiny blistering cuts. Kath, can you talk? Catherine's eyes snapped back to Guillaume, as if he had just materialized in the room beside her. So, yes, like I was saying, darling, which is the worst thing, what do you think? This abuse of my best friend, or my infidelity to you? Or if that doesn't cut it, dear, may I divulge to you one last point? I felt something worrying when I kissed her. Excitement. If she hadn't stopped me, something else would have... It felt so real. It didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like it had always been there, buried deeply. So much so that it felt like cheating. It was like a craving. I wanted it. It was something I haven't felt with you when we... Why is this happening? I don't know. I don't even know who I am anymore. Kath, you are scaring me. Tell me what's wrong. Would you still want to marry me? Would you still love me if you knew? I wouldn't. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. But I think I know who I am now. I am a selfish, depraved bitch. I have always been the controlling, jealous lover to you. And just one night of drunken frenzy, I went and took advantage of the two people I care for the most. I want to call off the engagement. At first, Catherine saw that Guillaume treated it as a joke, but the panic in his eyes set in immediately. What? I said I'm calling off the engagement. Well, I refuse. You don't have a choice. I'm leaving tomorrow. No, not until you tell me what's wrong. Guillaume's eyes didn't flinch. These were the looks he gave her that melted her heart. They were so sure and steadfast in their care. They were just fighting this morning, a fight she had started, as usual. Yet there was no doubt in his eyes at all. If she were to see that certainty fade away from his eyes, she knew it would break her. Is it about the fight earlier? Because, Kath, I swear to you, I haven't done any of... No, stop. Hearing him reinstate his devotion to her just made it more painful. Tears pooled in her eyes and fell in huge, ugly globs. She had been doing so well, too. She had thought she could hold it in until she left. She wiped the tears as best she could, but more kept pouring out. It isn't about that. Then what is it? What do you want me to do? Whatever it is, I shall do it. This was so hard. Why did this have to be so hard? Why did she even go here? Because she wanted to see his face. She wondered what it would be like for a cheater to go back to the arms of her lover. Would it change somehow? Did she still love him? How could she even tell? All her emotions were wrapped in a thick layer of guilt. It was hard to distinguish every painful thought. She'd started to sob now, yes indeed. Ugly, unflattering snorts came out of her nose. It felt comforting to hold on to guilt. Its existence made the hatred towards herself bite less. Kath, please tell me what's bothering you. I don't deserve you. I'm a horrible person. You ought to find someone else to marry. Catherine let the words tumble out of her mouth, slightly relieved to be rid of them. She looked tearfully up at Guillaume to gauge his reaction, but he just stared back at her blankly. Why wouldn't he say anything? Catherine sobbed, fearing the worst. Guillaume cleared his throat and spoke hesitantly. Could you, repeat that? He cupped his hand to his ear and angled it closer to her face. He apparently hadn't caught any of her heartfelt words. Catherine snarled angrily at him. You idiot! I'm having a breakdown here. But I didn't understand what you said. I said you ought to find someone else because I am a horrible person. Guillaume pulled her to him. Oh, that's it? Whatever made you think I'll accept that reason? Catherine's tears soaked his shirt. You don't know what I've done. Then tell me. You'll hate me. I guarantee it. Did you punch a baby? No. The inside joke made her laugh out of the blue. She buried her face in his chest in a half-sob, half-laugh. Suddenly, her doubts were cleared. Suddenly, she didn't want to marry anyone else. Catherine's arms tightened around Guillaume's waist. I've been taking you for granted, haven't I? I've been arrogant, expecting you to always adjust to me and my whims. A new fervor sprung out of her love for him. I don't deserve you right now. But I'll work on that, if you give me another chance. First, she would tell him what she had done. Then it would be up to him if he still wanted her. He deserved that decision. What I did. But Guillaume stopped her with a kiss on her forehead. Tomorrow. After a hearty breakfast and a good night's rest. I'll listen to what you have to say. Though I'm quite sure my answer will be the same. Catherine's face melted into a smile, and he beamed at her. My star finally smiles. Catherine wiped her eyes. I love you so much. She sighed with content, part of her anxiety put to rest. I do. I really do. She whispered that last one under her breath, as if trying to console herself. Guillaume. Yes, dear? Will you make love to me? Guillaume's brow shot up in surprise. Not the only thing shooting up. Right now? Yes. No. Well, if you're not ready, later is also fine. Or tomorrow. But since it's already morning, then technically it's today, right? Guillaume's head tilted slightly. An amused smirk plastered on his face. Please, take me seriously, Guillaume. This is important to me. I have to know. I have to make sure. Make sure of what? Catherine. Guillaume held her hand. I think you are tired. And just a little bit barmy. More than usual, I mean. But this is what we will do. Guillaume guided the woman to the bed and sat her down. We are going to lay on the bed. I am going to pat your hair until you fall asleep. I shall skip work in the morning, have that trifling little talk you want. And as such, if you're still in the love-making type of mood, then, mademoiselle, I will take you up on your offer. Catherine's eyes moistened, but this time they were happy tears. I love you. Guillaume shrugged and lifted Catherine's legs up onto the bed. I love you too, and aren't you lucky? Save it. He climbed on the bed beside her. Catherine draped her arm over him. He searched for her hand, brought it up to his lips, and patted it. She closed her eyes and rested her head on his chest, comforted by the warmth of his embrace. Honey, can I ask you something? Hmm? Why do you love me so much? Guillaume mused for a while. Is that a trick question? It feels like a trick question. Catherine whined. Guillaume laughed. Fine, fine. I shall humor you for now because you are in such a state. I love you simply because it's easy to love you, darling. You are my star, my light. You keep me right always. You make me want to do good by you, to be a better person. You aren't even my wife yet, but the townspeople are already calling you their lady. I may have to hand you the marquisdom myself. That is only because everyone in town knows who I am. Oh, I wonder why that is. Is it because you help sell vegetables in the marketplace on weekends? Or because you conspire with my cooks to hold impromptu picnics with the locals? You know about that? One can only sneak out that much food without getting noticed, madame. It amuses me how the servants cover for you upon inquiry as well. It was my idea. They're not to blame. I know, darling. I know. Guillaume chuckled and kissed her temple. It goes to show how your presence uplifts everyone's lives, including mine. But honestly, those reasons aren't exactly why. I love you, Kath. I just do. Beyond what I thought I was capable of. Catherine's heart cracked with his last utterance. If I did something bad, would you still love me? Yes, I would. Are you sure? I'm sure. What if I've hurt an innocent person? What if I've hurt you? She bit her lip. What if I was unfaithful? Guillaume stared at her questioningly. Catherine buried her face in his chest. She felt his hand smooth away her hair. He whispered gently into her ear. If you'll still have me, come back to me. Guillaume, what happened doesn't matter to me at all. You are not your mistakes, Kath. Guillaume cleared his throat. Suddenly, he seemed to have trouble breathing. You have the power to change. How about you? If I told you that I am not what I say I am, would you... What do you mean? Never mind. It's a silly question. What? Is something bothering you, Guillaume? Guillaume turned his head away and closed his eyes. Nothing, darling. We should sleep now. Catherine patted away the frown on his brow. She traced his cheeks with her fingers. Guillaume, I do love you. Now I am more than certain. It gives my heart happiness to know for sure. What reminded me was your generosity. You give every bit of yourself to the people you love. Do you know that? Because I have to, darling. Well, you have always inspired me, Chu. I have always looked up to you. You treat everyone, no matter their status, with kindness. Never have I met a man more generous and thoughtful about others. A man with so much love to give. And that is why I love you. You are a good man. But if that's not what I really am? Catherine shook her head. You can't fake sacrifice, Monsieur. I have seen you care for the people in this town. I've seen how you've loved me. I don't care for much for intention, you see. It's what we actually do that defines us. Guillaume paused, his voice choked up in his throat. Not always. Not always. Guillaume found Catherine's hand on his face and squeezed it. She stretched her neck and kissed his cheek. Catherine, you are always scared I will leave you. But the truth is, I know it is you who will leave me. And it hurts. What? You are different. I've loved you for so long. It scares me how deep I have rooted myself. Sometimes I deem it better to end this wretched existence. To save you from... What are you talking about, Guillaume? You're not making any sense. Is it your turn to scare me? I'm sorry. They didn't speak for a while. The air became a little uncomfortable. She could feel Guillaume's stressful breathing on her forehead. Catherine wondered what Guillaume was talking about, but it didn't seem like he wanted to discuss it further. When Guillaume started to calm down, Catherine thought it was best to sleep and ask him about it the next day. But Guillaume spoke again. His voice was low and serious. Catherine, do you love me? With all my heart, Guillaume. I've loved you for what it seems like my whole life. The candle flickered. Guillaume slipped his hands on Catherine's hair and gently pushed her face towards his. She closed her eyes and let the sensations of his lips take her. His mouth left sweet traces on her skin, as if washing away her sins, blessing her, anointing her. Catherine tasted salt in his kiss, like the taste of tears. She wanted to take away all his sorrows. Guillaume held her tightly, longingly. She drowned herself in his embrace. His palm caressed her neck as he kissed her, sliding down her arm and the curve of her waist. His fingers tugged gently on her skin. Catherine darted her tongue inside her mouth, and Guillaume answered it with his own. She wanted his every kiss. She felt pleasure to know he was hers. Her hand ran up and down his back as their kisses grew heavier. Guillaume broke away. Cath, let's stop. You're tired. Catherine looked into his eyes and saw he wanted her despite his protests. After the events of that night, there was a despair in Catherine that longed to be quenched. It was a selfish atonement, perhaps, a hunger for self-worth. She ran her tongue over his lips. I want this, Cath. Cath sat up beside him, massaging his shoulders and neck. She dipped her head and gave him a long, deep kiss. She opened his shirt, nibbling on his ear as she did. The clench of his jaw, his aroused breath, the cord of his neck. They were her little trophies, her bliss. Catherine pulled his shirt free. She traced a finger down his bare stomach. She watched in ecstasy as he bit his lip. To know that he couldn't resist her made her swell with pride. Guillaume sat up on the bed, finally reaching for her, finally giving in. It felt like a victory to her. Bow, chicka, chicka, bow, chicka, bow, bow, chicka, chicka. Guillaume grabbed her neck and pulled her face to him. His tongue bored deeply into her. Catherine pulled on his hair, surprised at his sudden intensity. Heat ran through her body. She savored his dominance. His lips ran down her neck to her chest. Every nerve felt tender. Every length of skin felt raw. It was a reminder, an awareness that her flesh was a living thing. Tension built up in her insides. Guillaume's breath tickled her ear. He whispered her name, and it sent a violent tremor throughout her skin. I forget if it gets creepy again here. It would start in her torso, surging through her, startling the roots of her hair. Her throat made short, hurt sounds. She would usually stop here. An irksome apathy would take hold of her, and she would stop. Now, this wasn't like the other times. Catherine felt a hot throbbing at the pit of her stomach. A clench in her body wound her up tighter and tighter, putting her in danger of release. This was different. This was, "Do you love me, Catherine?" "Guillaume, I..." Her voice came out throaty and thick. Guillaume laid her down on the bed. Guillaume dug his tongue on the hollow of her neck as his hands explored her. Yeah, music's pretty quiet here. The soft sounds returned to her lips, but Guillaume covered them with his mouth. Her voice echoed in their heads. She wanted to scream, and the scream would come from very deep. "Do you love me?" "Oh God, Oh God, I love you, she said in an urgent, desperate frenzy. A high-pitched sob escaped her mouth as something snapped inside her. Catherine opened her eyes. She caught something alarming as she stared up at him. He didn't look like Guillaume in the shadows unlit by the candlelight. His features were the same. His eyes were in the same place. His nose and lips were the same shape. But this man was a stranger. He did not care for her, like how a snake didn't care for its prey. For a brief second, she was afraid. A tiny voice told her to run away, but that voice was washed away by a wave of carnal desire. The stranger grinned at Catherine. Mine. Faster now, deeper his kisses went, as if reaching for something inside her. His weight on her body excited her, but it also felt like a prison. Run, rabbit! Run, rabbit, run! Catherine viciously devoured his lips. Her hands cruised south, kneading and clutching greedily, her legs draped around his waist. A force overtook her. A hunger. Here comes the farmer's gun! She tried to ignore the growing coldness in Guillaume's eyes. She tried to ignore the way her body moved on its own. Run, rabbit! Run, rabbit, run! Her hands found the clasps of his trousers, and she undid them. Quickly now. Quickly. He bit on her shoulder. She felt more of his teeth than his lips on her body. Catherine scolded herself for being aroused. Her mounting terror only served to aggravate her urges. She wanted this. I want this. She was hungry. I am hungry. She heard the man snicker. He wants his farmer's pie, so don't stand idly by. Run, rabbit, run! He pulled her neck back with a jolt, exposing her bare neck. His tongue slid down as if tasting her. Catherine gasped. The shiver was from both pleasure and fear, a dangerous mix. But it was cruel. There was no warmth, just cold, hard greed. And yet, she couldn't help but want him. She wanted to please him. With her every movement, Catherine felt her energy wither away. A heady, nauseous feeling of malady clawed at her. What was missing? What was taken away? She didn't know what was gone until it was. The final scream of protest died in her mind, the last that was left of her lucidity. The urge to escape left. No more reasons to stop. Catherine moaned. Stop? No, no, I must not stop. Why did I even think that? What if he'd hate her? It was an agonizing thought. She had to give him more. More. His eyes observed her with cold amusement. Catherine touched his chest in reverence. His eyes were cold, but his body was like fire. In her mind's eye, he had started to become something else. A winged creature engulfed in flame. Both hot and cold and magnificent. Both beautiful and terrible. Both dark and light. A god. At times, she would be on the bed with a man she might remember she once loved. Other times, she would be floating, suspended on a dark chasm of flesh. There was a creature with her, somebody she both loathed and adored. Sometimes there were two people. Sometimes there was only him. Only him. The woman called Catherine didn't exist. She was merely an extension of his mind. Soon all of her would be gone, little by little disintegrating to be a part of him forever. Oh, bliss. She was prepared to give everything to him. It didn't even seem a worthy sacrifice to lay at his feet. But no, all he asked for was her heart. That small, pathetic thing. It had always been his anyway. She gave it gleefully to the ruler of hearts. He was so generous and considerate, benevolent, fair. She worshipped him. He was her god. Please want me. Please find me pretty. She craved his love above anything else. Above fear and confusion, above the mourning at something precious lost. Love me, please. Love me, she begged. I'll do anything for you. Anything? His lips did not move, save for a smile. The words simply dropped in her head, echoed, and took root. Catherine's eyes lost their glimmer. Anything. Then tell me again. I want to hear it. Do you love me, Catherine? Her name on his lips was the only reminder of her former self. I do. I love you. I love you so much. A wave of fire burnt her lips as their mouths entwined. His passion heightened. His back arched. Sweat beaded on his forehead and traced his temple. What a wondrous sight. He was ice beginning to thaw, a sun on the verge of eclipse. His coldness replaced by a radiating heat that melded and fastened her to him like fire with metal. Really? Do you really love me? Yes, she screamed. Yes. The candle fizzled out. Beneath the depths of her hazy mind, she was relieved she didn't have to look at his face. So yeah, this is why I figured that this is a pretty decent horror thing to play. She tastes just like the richest chocolate, the finest wine. I can't stop. My whole body shivers with the taste of her. Her breath on my neck, her fingers scratching at my back. Her lust gives me sustenance to move faster, to devour her faster. Stop. I knew waiting so long would be worth it. I have been her lover for years, and this flavor is divine. My head spins, my appetite swells. I can't stop. I can feel her excitement mounting with her helplessness. I lick my lips in delight. I haven't breathed so deeply for a long time. You're taking too much. Her love is exquisite. It is laced with anger, reverence, disappointment, pain, memories. All different relishes and morsels melding into one. Stop it! Her love is a delicacy. You're destroying her. I can't stop myself. I haven't tasted this kind of love for so long. Flirtations and physical attraction can only get me by for so long. I was going to wait. There is a waning in her love. Confusion. Doubt. But that helping of guilt tinged the flavor perfectly. I must feed now. Her love is the most perfect tonight. My body wants her. I couldn't stop now even if I wanted to. Liar. And I almost let you escape. To save her. I almost ran away. I love her. I love her. And tomorrow, maybe. What will become of her? I will find another. Next time. Something insignificant. I want to relish this taste a bit more. No! No! With every move, I feel her love osmose into my other mouth. Feeder, I am still playing my creepy game. She clings to me, her moans louder, her bare chest glistens with sweat. She is beautiful. It won't be long now. A final drawing of breath. Do you love me, Catherine? Give me all your love. All of it. Give it to me. I want it all. It's mine. Mine. Catherine, give me more. I want more. 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 Aw, how romantic, right? Rosa stood in front of the door to Catherine's room, her hand raised to knock. She hesitated. That night, Catherine and her kissed. The sweet feelings mixed with the horrid feeling of hunger. It tainted it grossly, making Rosa feel sick and confused. What happened? She didn't know what it could have been, but it was both familiar and utterly alien, like an instinct. A shiver ran down her spine at the memory. But before that, she must confront Catherine first. She's avoiding me, isn't she? She hadn't seen Catherine for a few days since that night. She had been spending a lot of her time alone, locked away in her room. Whenever Rosa saw her in the chateau, she would excuse herself and leave. Rosa never got the courage to push the issue. But days had passed, and Catherine's behavior began to worry her even more. She is probably repulsed by you. Hey, Samoan. What did you expect? After what you did to her, you little monster. Of course she will avoid you like the plague. No matter. She's never going to love you like Mother does. Like all of the others, she's going to leave you in the end, and then you're all alone. Only Mother will stay with you forever and love you. So be a good child and listen to what I tell you. Rosa bit her lower lip. This was all her fault, wasn't it? She needed to make it right. If Rosa talked to her properly, she was sure they would come to an understanding. She had to explain to her. What exactly? They had both been drunk, and the kisses didn't mean anything? Her stomach churned at this thought. In the end, it didn't matter what Rosa wanted. Catherine obviously regretted what had happened. She didn't want to lose her friend because of a drunken mistake. Rosa gently knocked on Catherine's door. Catherine, may I come in? Please, Catherine, I'm sorry for the mess, but can we talk? Rosa waited for an answer. None came. Rosa turned the handle slowly and entered. Usually, Catherine's room was brightly lit. The windows let in a fresh breeze, often carrying the sweet smell of flowers in spring. Right now, however, the curtains were drawn closed. The few candles burning on a desk weren't enough to banish the darkness completely. The air hung heavy in the room. Catherine didn't turn around when the door opened. She just stood there, unmoving, in front of a wall. The sound of something scratching along a rough surface filled the air. Rosa felt a shiver run down her spine at this sound, and her muscles tensed instinctively. She approached Catherine slowly and apprehensively. When she came closer, she could hear that Catherine was whispering the same few words, over and over again. He loves me. He loves me not. Catherine giggled. He loves me. He loves me not. Catherine, are you all right? Rosa stepped next to Catherine and peered at her outstretched hand. In the dim light, it took a moment for her to make sense of what she saw. Catherine was scratching at the wall. The damage she had done to the wall was nothing compared to what she had done to her fingers. Cath? Oh my god, Catherine, stop! Rosa's guts twisted horribly. She grabbed Catherine's shoulder to turn her around, away from the wall. Brooke, the noise is supposed to be somebody scratching at a wall. She blinked a couple of times before finally reacting to Rosa's presence. Was a little scared? Because it's a horror game. Tears welled up in Catherine's bloodshot eyes at the sight of her friend, spilling over her pale cheeks and chapped lips. She held on tightly to Rosa and started sobbing uncontrollably. Cath! What's going on? Why are you hurting yourself? Catherine tried to pull herself together as best she could, wiping her nose on the sleeve of her soiled dress. It was heart-wrenching to look at the mess that her friend had become. Oh, Rosa, you need to help me. You need to protect me from him. Don't let him touch me. Who? Let him what? Why do you need me to protect you? Suddenly, Catherine shushed her, a finger to her lips with a scared expression on her face. She leaned an ear towards the door and listened intensely for a moment. Oh, he's here? The scared expression turned into a manic and frightening glee. I think he's coming. Guillaume, honey! Guillaume, I love you! After yelling the last words, Catherine started sobbing again, with more tears streaming down her face. Before Rosa could try to console her, however, her sobs faded into hysterical laughter. It barely left time for her to gasp for breath. Oh, Guillaume, I love the way you pull me close to hug me. And how kind you are to everyone you meet. And your eyes. Your eyes. What's going on here? Guillaume stood in the door, frowning. His eyes wandered across the room and caught sight of Catherine. His face froze in shock. Catherine stared wide-eyed for a second. Then she snarled at him like a ferocious animal. You bastard! Get out of my room! Get lost! She stormed over to the desk and grabbed a letter opener from the table. With this weapon in a firm grip and malice in her eyes, she rushed to Guillaume. Don't you dare show your face to me! Catherine, no! The knife plunged into Guillaume's arm. Blood quickly stained his sleeve red, but Catherine only recoiled to strike back with no hint of stopping. Oh my God! Catherine! They wrestled for a moment until Guillaume was able to grab Catherine's hand. She dropped the letter opener and slumped to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Rosa quickly picked up the blade and stepped out of reach. When she turned around again, Guillaume had already pulled Catherine into a tight embrace. Between her sobs and hiccups, Rosa could hear her apologizing. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Guillaume. What? I'm so sorry. Do you love me? Please, Guillaume, do you love me? She repeated the question over and over again, no matter how many times Guillaume reassured her. It was probably a good idea to find something to calm her down. Rosa didn't feel completely at ease doing so, but she left her friend alone with the Marquis for a few moments. Later, she returned with a glass of water laced with valerian root. Guillaume had already coaxed Catherine to lie down on her bed, while Rosa helped her drink the nightcap. They watched her in silence as she drifted into a fitful sleep. Guillaume and Rosa left the room. They didn't speak for a while, both still dazed and shocked by the turns of events. How is your arm? Guillaume hid the injured arm away from view. Fine. Just a scratch. The bleeding hadn't stopped yet. Rosa could tell the cut was deeper than Guillaume let on. What is happening? What has gone into Catherine? Guillaume just shrugged with a cold expression of worry on his face. I wish I knew, Rosa. The state she is in scares me, to be honest. It might be an onset of an episode waiting to happen. Like her sister before. Rosa's mouth tightened. How dare you say that? She is not crazy. Rosa searched his face for traces of a lie, but it was like a mask contorted by worry. She couldn't tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. Did you know what she said to me? She asked me to protect her from you. What did you do to her, Guillaume? Did you hurt her? You know I wouldn't. I didn't do anything. All I know is that she is unwell, and I am somehow the target of her psychotic state. That's it. But why? Stop. Stop it, Rosa. It hurts me too, seeing her like this. Please stop questioning me further. I'm going to call for a physician. Please stay with her in the meantime. See that she doesn't harm herself again. Yeah, Brooke, I remember that song. Presidents of the United States of America. For a moment, he met her eyes. Before she could say more, however, he turned around and left. See if his pants have got fire yet, child. There was nothing she could do about him for now. Rosa left to get a bowl of fresh water and a towel to tend to Catherine's fingers. Catherine had an uneasy sleep, while Rosa cleaned her wounds as best she could. She muttered, squealed, and whimpered like a child. It seemed that she was having a nightmare, but Rosa didn't dare wake her before the physician arrived. Instead, she stroked her hair, told her that everything would be all right. She tried to appease the growing confusion of voices in her head. What had happened between Catherine and Guillaume? Their relationship was often erratic, but Rosa dismissed the possibility that this was one of their usual fights. Rosa remembered Catherine's face, filled with utter spite at the man. She had never seen that much hatred in Catherine. After a few minutes, Catherine's eyelids fluttered open. She looked around with some confusion, then her gaze settled on Rosa. Tears welled up in her eyes. Rosa. Rosa held her outstretched hand. Her heart broke when she saw Catherine wince. Oh, Rosa, I'm so scared. Everything is such a mess. It's going to be all right, Kath. Don't worry now. Just try to sleep some more. No, you don't understand. Catherine tried to sit up, but Rosa pushed her down gently. You need rest, Kath. I hate him. This is all his fault. She sniffed, but settled down on her pillow once more. When she spoke again, it was in a whisper. Rosa, She chewed on her dry, chapped lips for a moment, as if she couldn't get the words out. I don't think I love him anymore. What? A dry sob escaped her, followed by tears rolling down her cheeks. Had Catherine really just said that? But I don't understand this. When I think of him, Her voice cracked. She shuddered under the blanket like an ill breeze had just sprung up in the room. It's like bugs are crawling under my skin. I can't bear to look at him anymore. I just can't. I can't even say his name. Why? Do you remember when exactly you started feeling this way? That night. Rosa winced. Catherine covered her face with her hands. It was a horrible night. Rosa's chest hurt. Was this her fault? She didn't know what she had done, but didn't she do something to her? I'm sorry. Catherine went on like she hadn't heard her. I went to his room. We spent the night together. Rosa waited for Catherine to continue, but the girl stared blankly. She just stopped speaking, as if forgetting she ever spoke at all. Kath, did he hurt you that night? No. Maybe? Catherine shook her head. I don't know. She grabbed her head and sobbed. The grip on Rosa's heart tightened. How can this be? Her eyes drowned in tears. I love him, Rosa, don't I? I remember everything. I love him. I know I do. I'm sure I do. But I hate him too, to the very core. I want to hurt him and punish him. Yeah, Shania, this is the only game for tonight's live. I will probably finish the game. I'm not sure how much. I think there's probably like a good hour left in it. But I'll probably try to finish it anyway. For something. I want to snuff out the breath from his throat. But sometimes Catherine's eyes went blank. I just don't care for him at all. Sometimes I feel nothing. Nothing at all. And that scares me more. She laid on the bed, quiet now, letting the tears flow out of her eyes without wiping them. I'm going mad, Rosa. Catherine, I am, aren't I? Like my sister? Well, like my mother. It runs in our blood. They said I am a child of a mad woman. They said I'm going to turn out exactly like her. Rosa stroked her hair and tried her best to soothe her, saying that everything would be all right. They were empty words, but she didn't know what else to say. She wanted them to be true so badly, for her friend's sake as well as her own. Was Guillaume really the cause of Catherine's confusion and pain? Pangs of guilt pricked her like tiny needles. Or was this her fault? Rubbish, you fool! This is all his fault. I can feel it. We must get to the bottom of this. Yes, Mother. Rosa looked down on her best friend and nodded slightly to herself. Everything will be all right, Catherine. I promise. She would make it all right, somehow. She had to. The physician arrived shortly, but he did little to help Catherine. Catherine never regained her personality. She remained moody and irritable, out into fits of hysterical laughter or heartbreaking sobs at seemingly random intervals. Guillaume and Rosa would take turns to tend to her. Her moods fluctuated, her temper uncontrollable. There were times she begged for attention from Guillaume, almost clinging to him in despair, never letting him out of her sight. Other times she couldn't stand his very presence. Soon, neither Guillaume nor Rosa could console her anymore. She withdrew entirely from the household. She starved herself, stopped eating, stopped caring for herself. Her manic episodes degraded to long stretches of blank silence. Emptiness ruled her life. Looking at her eyes in those last days, it was like a fire had been snuffed out behind them. Like the star that had been shining through had imploded. Chapter 5. Psyche. Take revenge for me. Rosa's hands were over her head. She pressed herself into a corner, panting. She has never heard Mother this loud before. Take revenge! The world rattled around her skull and made her vision blur. Mother, what more do you want? The spell is already... She bent her head, black spots creeping into the edge of her vision. She was so tired. You cannot hide anything from me. What is this doubt you are nursing? You are hesitating. You are crafting another spell. You stupid harlot. That filthy Marquis is exactly the kind of monster I have been warning you about. You dare plan behind my back? I just don't want to kill anymore, Mother. She couldn't help but answer back this time. How could she not? After years filled with love and acceptance, it made her realize all the more how precious life was. The thought of snuffing out somebody else's life sent a detestable shiver through her bones. She had planned on running away from this place, abandoning whatever duty that now fell on her hands. Why was it her duty anyway? She just wanted to take the good memories of this place and taint them no longer. Whatever truth she sought wasn't enough payment for peace. I don't want to. Her voice shook. I don't want to kill him, Mother. I don't want to kill anyone, please. Is this cowardice or stupidity? You hate him, don't you? Look deep into your heart and you will find it, child. As there is deep love, there is burning hate. A hate so strong it compels to end a life. Yes, darling, let it burn in you. This is fire that consumes the same way. Channel it. Use it. No, please. Rosa's head began to throb, and a vile sickness spread through her stomach. He took everything away from you, darling. He took Catherine. He will not stop. He needs to be punished. With this final proclamation, Rosa was struck to the floor. The feeling of fainting was stronger than ever. Alone in the dark, she lay there, panting like a sick dog waiting for what would come next. Catherine's voice squeezed itself into her aching brain. Guillaume killed me. He made me love him, and then he betrayed me. He deserves death. Only you can kill him. I can't kill him. It's what I want. That's not true. It is. You're my best friend, Rosa. Friends avenge each other, don't they? My darling daughter. I could always count on you to do the right thing. So kill him. Kill Guillaume. Kill him. Promise me. Make him suffer. Stab him with a knife. Laughs. Stick a dagger down his throat. Gouge his eyes out. Take revenge. Rosa clutched her head so hard she thought her skull would burst. For a long moment, she lay as though she were dead. 5 minutes, 10 minutes passed. Then, in the middle of the empty room, Rosa's voice rang out clear as a bell. I understand. Rosa knocked on Guillaume's door, carrying a tray of food. She had been poisoning his meals in small doses for weeks now, taking note of any ill effects it yielded. There had been none. Guillaume was as still fit and healthy as ever. No symptoms at all, even after she had increased the dosage. Either he hadn't eaten anything for a month, or he was immune to poison. Both possibilities were suspect. Rosa knocked again. There was no response from the other side of the door. It may have worked. It was not a total loss, however. She remembered Catherine mentioning how particular Guillaume was with his sleep. Just as she had been about to give up, she had ventured on this hunch. It was true. Guillaume was curiously rather sensitive to sedatives. Rosa had offered rose tea to Guillaume that afternoon, under the guise that she had made a new recipe. It had been laced with opium and valerian, sweetened with honey to mask the taste. Whether or not it was the casting of Philia, he had drunk it without second thought. He had retired early that evening. Rosa noted the grogginess visible in his gait. She snuck the master key this evening. Tonight is her night. Rosa pushed the door to his room open. It took a couple of seconds for her eyes to adjust to the darkness. It felt like a different world inside this room. By closing the door, it was as if she had cut herself off from the living. Rosa took an unsure step once she found her bearings. Give me a second here. She placed the tray of food on the nearest flat surface, careful not to make any noise. The lit candle provided little comfort. It seemed to cower from the intimidating blanket of shadows. Rosa heaved. The air felt humid in here, the atmosphere almost stale. And yes, he is sleeping. Now that she was inside and venturing deeper, a sudden impulse to find the exit gripped her. She looked back. The door seemed farther away. Why was she so anxious? She had been in this room before. It was perfectly normal. But tonight, the room seemed to breathe. Rosa gulped. What a curious word. There was no other way to describe it, though. The flickering shadows made it seem like the walls were respiring around her. The room felt alive. It was asleep, like its owner, but alive. In the dim light of her candle, the red carpet looked like flesh. No, Lexi, not broken. It's just for one day, for a full day after my computer installs an update, it just screws up. The furnishings were viscera. It didn't feel like she entered a room at all, but a belly. Thanks, Smoky Eyes. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Something darted in the corner of her eye. Rosa snapped her head. Just a curtain. Rosa let out the breath she was holding in her chest, aware with every move her body made. She tiptoed towards the canopy. It was perhaps the highlight of the room, an organic monstrosity of red plush and velvet. From afar, it didn't look like a bed at all, but a cage. If the room was a cavern of meat, then this This was its heart. Rosa approached. Every muscle in her body was tense. She could see a figure sprawled on the bed, limbs sticking out clumsily. He was lying on his chest, back bare, clothes littering the floor. Guillaume seemed to have fallen into the bed instead of climbing in. One of his arms stuck out from the mattress. His breath was fitful but slow, a light snore coming from him. What was that? Rosa looked around for the source of the noise, but the room was still. A slow trickle of sweat traced her spine. Did that come from the window? Should she check? Rosa didn't move. Something was in the room with her. She could feel it. She stole a glance at Guillaume. He hadn't moved from the bed. Rosa's ears tried to pick up the faintest noise. It felt like hours of her staying frozen on that spot, wishing to blend with the darkness. But there was no one there. She had probably imagined it. She took a deep breath and calmed herself down. The sooner she was out of this room, the better. Philia's effect would diminish once the candle died. After that, she might not have another chance. She had to find out more about him tonight. The thought of her goal helped steel her nerves. I mean, you can always come back to listen to the rest later, Leo. Where should she begin? She took a step. Rosa darted her head, looking for the source of the skittering noise. Her ears were too sensitive now. She heard every creak and moan in the room. She took a deep breath. Focus. Rosa surveyed everything. There was a book by Guillaume's bedside table. It was only a couple of steps away, but she'd have to come dangerously close to the bed. As much as she could, she'd rather maintain the distance between her and the creature on the bed. Creature. Why did she think that? Perhaps it was the arrangement of the sheets, or the shadows playing their tricks, but Rosa shook her head. Perhaps there was another place to look? We've come here to gather information. You should check the book. Rosa sighed. Mother was right. She had to check every source to be sure. She inched herself closer to the bed. The faint candlelight indicated that the book on the bedside was red. It wasn't the journal she had seen Guillaume write in. Rosa tiptoed her way closer. Guillaume's hand dangled mere inches away. She reached her arm towards the book and swiped it noiselessly. The candle almost went out with her sigh. She backed up from the bed with the book under her arm. Adrenaline surged in her blood. It almost made her smile. Rosa examined her prize. A book in a foreign language. She remembered seeing such thin, obscure characters somewhere. She wasn't sure which country, but it was probably Asian. She flipped the book and saw a piece of parchment folded on one of the pages. A sailing permit for a barge named La Victoria, dated for the end of the month. 2 days from now. It outlined the cargo and the purposes of the trip with no date of return. Traveling? No. Leaving. Guillaume was planning to leave. This was a suspicion she had since she had started observing him. His sudden aloofness with the town affairs. The secret purchase of a ship. The decrease of servants in his employ. Now it was confirmed. It's just as well we found this. We must end it tonight before he has a chance to escape. Although it was a good thing to confirm the suspicion, the fact helped her little. If anything, it just made it even more urgent to find something tonight. She had to continue. Rosa steadied herself and stepped back to the bed. Her hand finally brushed against the wood of the table after some quiet fumbling. She caught sight of something shiny inside the drawer. Open it, child. Rosa pulled the drawer open ever so slightly. She peeked inside. Inside was an ornate dagger with a golden hilt set in with rubies. An old, delicate pattern was carved on its blade. I'm close enough to the end, Brooke, that I may as well just finish it. It'll be a long video, but I may as well finish it. There was a heat emanating from it, almost like it was alive, like the rest of the room. She almost missed it in the dim light, but there was also a key in the same cabinet. Figure key first. Take the key, and leave that dagger. I have a bad feeling about that weapon. Leave it be. Rosa agreed with Mother. The weapon was as sinister as it was beautiful. She didn't want to touch it. Rosa took the tiny key into her hand, feeling the cool metal against her palm. She pushed the drawer back. Guillaume shifted. Rosa blew the candle out. She scuttled behind the small table. It barely hit her. Guillaume had changed positions in his sleep. Now his face was in full view and facing her direction. Rosa's heart banged in her chest. It was so loud she was concerned the room might echo the sound and announce her intrusion. Rosa waited for a few minutes before moving. She decided to crouch down, holding the unlit candle close to her chest. Easy now. She shuffled away from the bed in relief. The candle was dead, but her eyes were now well adjusted to the darkness. She could make out a desk in the furthest part of the room. He must do most of his writing there. There's a huge chance the journal is near. It wasn't very dignifying, but Rosa decided to crawl towards it. Now that Guillaume's face was in full view, a flutter of the eyelid was all it would take to catch her. It would be better to minimize her risks. She dropped to her knees and placed her palms on the floor. She drew her hand back. Was she imagining it? When her palms touched the floor, it felt warm. Wet. Her fingers were sucked into the floor as if she touched soft, pulpy flesh. The hallucination was so strong that her nose detected a spray of iron in the air. Her stomach heaved. She rubbed her hand. There was no wetness or blood anywhere. The floor was solid. It must have been her imagination. Rosa touched the floor warily, patting it and pulling on the carpet fibers. Just a normal carpet. Rosa let out slow, small breaths as she started to move once more. She patted her way to the desk. Every time her skin came into contact with the floor, bile rose up her throat. It took some effort to resist the urge to gag. Finally, the desk was directly in front of her. She looked back at the bed. From this angle, it was hard to tell if Guillaume had moved. She hoped that the big desk also hid her in its shadows. Rosa rummaged. There was no trace of the book on the tabletop. She only found a pot of ink, loose sheets of paper, and a quill. That damn thing had to be close. She opened the first shelf and found a stack of papers. Nothing. She shuffled through them, but the drawer didn't have the journal. She looked through the second drawer. And the third. There was nothing of interest. Finally, she pulled on the last drawer. It was locked. Rosa sucked the air through her teeth. Of course it's locked. How could I have been so stupid? Rosa slumped in a depressed heap. The key? Rosa looked at the key in her hand. She slid it into the hole and heard the lock click. A deep feeling of relief washed over her. The drawer slid open. Rosa looked inside. There it was. In her eyes, the green journal was a treasure. She lifted the book from its resting place. It was heavier than she expected. Rosa smiled. She ran her hand along the velvet cover of the book, savoring the texture. At last, she had it. Child. Mother's voice was riddled with anxiety. Something is wrong. Her excitement had clouded her senses. Almost at once, she felt the change in the air. Everything was still. Her stomach shrunk into its cavity. Fresh sweat broke out on her scalp. The silence. It had weight. It pressed on her skin and made the air thin in her lungs. Rosa stood up. She had to leave. Now. Rosa shuffled her way out of the room. With every step, her legs seemed to stick uncomfortably to the floor. It slowed her movement. One more step. Her whole foot felt like sinking. She held onto a chair and staggered back. It was throbbing, musty and red, alive and without skin. The air was filled with the unmistakable stench of fresh meat. Rosa ran to the door. She didn't care that the handle seemed to curl around her fingers. She pushed the door open and spilled into the corridor. Rosa fell to her knees while she heard the door close behind her. It almost felt like the door closed by itself. In her confusion, she couldn't be sure. Rosa's heart pounded heavily in her ribs. Just looking at the doorway of the room made her skin crawl. Rosa gathered her wits and stared at the journal in her hand. She hoped it would contain the information they needed. Chapter 6. Good Intentions. In the worn, dim light of the library, Rosa opened the journal's cover. She wasn't too surprised to find that a number of entries were written in different tongues. The dates jumped from decade to decade. The writing spanned centuries. Hey, who was the person who guessed 400 years old? Another suspicion validated. Guillaume was not human. Or at least, he did not have a normal human lifespan. This discovery made Rosa search her mind for her date of birth. It distressed her that she could not remember. She shook her head and turned back to the journal. Despite the multitude of languages, the first entry was translated and rewritten several times. For sentimental reasons, perhaps? Or maybe a feeble attempt at reminiscing a more innocent time. I am learning to write. Alia gave me paper. I like Alia. She wants me to call her mother. She smells like oranges. She says I am a gift from the goddess. But I don't know any goddess. Alia calls me Ray. I guess that is my name now. It is nice to have a name. The other preceding pages were still in a different language. Rosa flipped through the pages until she came upon one she could read. They call me Eros, a god, a divine. They don't understand what I am. They either build me statues or spit at my feet. I am a muse. I am a blight. A symbol. But I am not the answer. It seems ironic, isn't it, that love craves love above all? That which I need, that which I am, poisons me to the point that I am sick of its taste. 6 May. The other one didn't have a date, right? I see it in the way people look at me, the way they act around me. Some would, of course, think of me as blessed. I have youth, health, and the gift of being loved. But I found that these gifts are curses as well. My youth forces me to always wander. My looks guarantee that I will always stand out. And love? The very same urge that blesses me quickly turns rabid. Yet I understand why. Oh, love. We all crave it, don't we? In the end, we are all drunk on the idea that only love could heal our brokenness. They all think I am this cure. But I keep hoping there might be something else besides this twisted sentiment. There must be. Mustn't there? Rosa read the words and found them tugging at her heart. This was the same feeling she had had for years. It almost seemed like the words were her own. I know I'm not supposed to be writing this. God, forgive me. I do not want to write it down. If I do, it will be the truth. Oh Lord, please forgive me. I didn't mean to do it. I just wanted to stop hurting. I am hiding now. I slashed my face and cut my hair so they would not recognize me. Pain. Pain is good. A penance. Oh Lord, please. If there is a God listening, please strike me down. Bad memories began to surface in Rosa's mind. Desperation. A cornered animal that fought back. It reminded her of her own sins. Her hands were drenched in red. And yet, here she was, planning to kill another man. This had been her goal all along, hadn't it? That same familiar guilt began to stir in her mind. She bit her lip. Rosa skipped some entries. Most of them were garbled, almost incomprehensible. They were written in old ink, faded and unloved. Still, though they were melancholic, they painted a picture of a man with sufficient black humor to keep sane. 28 November. The plague has confirmed my suspicions that I do not die from sickness. I don't know how to feel about that. Everyone is dead. But on the bright side, everyone is dead. 7th June 1489. For decades, I have searched for something in this life, and I am always disappointed by transience. What am I looking for? Meaning? Hope? Love? Death, maybe? I can bleed. Wounds to the heart heal slower than the rest of my body. I think I may die if wounded enough. I have tried that. There was a time when seeing myself bleed was the only reminder that I am not numb. Yet my body does not form scars, no matter how many times I draw my knife. Like any gift of age or ugliness, they all fade. A wrinkle today, gone the next. As if my body isn't even my own to brand. That is a shame. I want to mar my body so badly that anyone who sees me will flee. But I have tried that too. People are crueler when you are ugly. Why is that? Why do they feel the need to punish you simply because you are detestable? Perhaps because they can? Or perhaps because it is easy to be cruel to those which do not belong. I don't belong. It would be nice to disappear one day. There it is. There is confirmation that he can be killed. So he bleeds like everyone else, but heals enough not to die. A strike to the heart. If we find a way to leave this wound open, perhaps he can be exterminated. Rosa continued reading. Another feeling was starting to grow in her chest. She began to question her cause the more she read through the journal. I have been staying in the old March farm. They are good people. They invited me to eat with them, and it was in the warmth of their fire that I knew then that I must leave. I will only destroy their happiness. For the briefest of moments, I was able to experience what it is like to be part of a family. Not an outsider, but accepted. Rosa shuffled through more pages and saw a different penmanship in one such entry. It caught her eye. January 1500. New century. I like it. I smell change in the air. It is so much easier to lie when you have the means. Trading is a good sport. My name nowadays is Baron Eric Dobshire. How could I have forgotten mankind's paralyzing obsession with titles? Names have power. Titles have power. I simply bought a horse and good robes and introduced myself as such. Everyone fawned over it. I could get used to this. The taste is refreshing. I must plan this better next time. A background, a story. People love stories. Maybe I shall be an actor next? 27th March 1507. Cretins everywhere. Human nature stays the same. The powerful will take advantage of the damned. So it is all a struggle for control. Is that all there is? I thought it would be different, somehow, in a learned class, in a different era. I was a fool to expect more. Fortunately, I am already well acquainted. The next entry's penmanship was scratchy and difficult to understand. 1st December 1550. I'm tired of this life. It is all an endless cycle, and I can't stand the taste of this any longer. Love turns to ash in my mouth. I am trying to stop. I want to stop. It is my 7th day without consuming anything other than normal food. It barely grazes the bottom of my stomach. I want to see if I will die without eating love. I am sick of this. Now you know what he is, Rosa. He consumes love. I do not know exactly what he is, but he is a monster. A demon. Didn't I tell you? I felt it in my bones. Let's keep reading. Perhaps there might be more. 4th December 1550. This is my 10th day without it, and I am still alive. Barely. I can't even see where I am writing anymore. I am so weak. My body is in pain. Am I dying? I am afraid. After all my whining, I still want life. Isn't that funny? I am sleeping again. Sleep is the only thing that sustains me. It is dangerous for me to linger in sleep's domain, especially when I have not eaten. I have to keep writing. It's the only way to tell my mind it is still my own. I can't take it anymore. So that was why he fell so easily for the sedatives. That is not all. Perhaps we can destroy him this way as well. He is most vulnerable right now. If we attack now, he won't be able to put up any defenses. Shania, I'll be live again tomorrow. February 12th, 1601. I have rewritten all of my entries into a new journal. I have kept some that were close to my heart. I don't know why I still keep writing. Perhaps this journal is my will to live. I look back on it and it reminds me of the years I have endured. Sometimes I have a suspicion that this is my only reason. This perverse obsessive compulsion to hoard time, years, names. It can't end because it's such a shame. It is almost time to leave again. My ship arrived in France today. I plan to settle in a smaller town. I am sick of the taste of instant gratification. Maybe I will try a different approach next time. I need to blend in with the citizens first. My French needs work. 27 June 1784. Why do I keep doing this to myself? I shouldn't care so much. It always ends up broken or destroyed. I never learn. I should leave before... The entry was not finished, and some fresh pages were torn out of the book. Even if there were no names mentioned, Rosa felt that the last entry was for Catherine. There were more entries that she didn't explore, but she decided to close the book. She had read enough for now. Rosa's hands were shaking by then. A growing feeling of understanding came over her. His thoughts were too much like her own. They were too similar. No, Brooke. My throat couldn't take that, Brooke. Too much reading. Too much reading out loud. Guillaume consumes love. Rosa remembered the taste in her mouth when she had kissed Catherine. There was something else in that kiss. A boundless flavor that coated her mouth and made her realize how hungry she was. The same night that Catherine began to change. Rosa's throat throbbed. The thumping felt like it resonated through her whole body. She fell to her knees. That same feeling of dread rose up in her throat. The mere mention of the thought seemed to summon the feeling in her chest. She gagged. Did I taste Catherine's love that night? Then that means that I am also... Mother? Am I... the same? Oh, finally figured it out, have you? Do you see it now? My child, he is a monster. The very thing I stopped you from becoming. Don't you see? I saved you. I stopped you from feeding on other people's love. I didn't want you to be filthy. Mother's love is all you need. You have learnt enough. Now you know what to do. Kill him. He is what I have feared the most, Rosa. He must perish. Rosa's face contorted into worry. Shania, where's her mom? In her head. The discovery of Guillaume's identity shook her to her core. But it also made her feel the burden of their years together. Perhaps the understanding of his pain as well. In her head, must we really do this, Mother? You still have doubts after everything you have learned? No, but this knowledge just makes me want to... You stupid child. Can't you see it is what should be done? Do it for the greater good. He should be stopped. It is the right thing to do. Not wrong, he's a monster. Is it really? It is easy to say that. Guy's a killer. But what do you really want? To destroy him, of course. Are you really this daft, child? He devours the minds of those that love him. I cannot think of a more disgusting creature. We must destroy him. It needs to be done. Hey, Jack. He needs to pay for the victims of his curse. But is it really the right thing? Is death the only way to change him? Yes, it is. Of course it is. There is no other choice. It's the only way to stop him. He is a monster. Besides, it is what he deserves. Am I not like him, Mother? I am also a monster. We are the same. Yes, you are, and it is part of my regret to have ever loved you. But that is why I am here, to keep you from becoming the monster he is. Now that you know his true face, there is only one thing to do. Kill him! Rosa bit her lip until she could taste blood. But, Mother, please, don't make me kill anyone again. I am scared. Don't worry, I will guide you. Don't you fret, my child. I will be there to guide you. It is simple, my darling. Focus on the goal ahead. This isn't right. I can't kill another person, Mother. Yes, you can. You must. To fulfill your goal, it is necessary to crush things along the way. Just remember that they don't matter. It is just you and I forever, darling. Trust no one. Love no one but me. The rest of the world can crumble to dust. You have thought about punishing him too, haven't you? What? No. Catherine and him. They are both the forbidden fruit that you crave so badly. Mother keeps you right, darling. Mother keeps you clean. If you kill the dirty man, then you will stay pure. No. You don't have to be confused. But... Let's go with convince. My dear child, don't you see this is the right thing to do? Is it? Yes, my darling. You have read his journal, have you not? He is tired. We are doing him a favor. But it shouldn't be up to me to decide. It's not how it's supposed to... Believe in Mother, child. Mother knows what is best for you, my darling. Do you believe that? Yes, Mother. I have protected you and loved you all these years, haven't I? Yes, Mother. All my sacrifices were for you, you degenerate. Tears formed in Rosa's eye. She grabbed her head and scratched viciously. No, I don't understand anymore. I am so confused. Please, Mother. Don't cry. Shh. My darling. I know it's hard. But you love Mother, don't you? Yes. Will you keep Mother happy, darling? Yes. Then do as I say, my child. Kill him. Rosa began to giggle. Her tongue danced in her mouth. She licked her lips in delight. Yes. Kill him. This is what he deserves for being filthy. I am a little monster too, aren't I? But Mother keeps me clean. She feeds me and loves me and kisses me. I'd like to cut his pretty neck open, Mother. Watch the pretty blood drain from his dirty mouth. Is that all right? I am a monster, but Mother keeps me right. Hey, I just got a achievement. Monster. Mother, can I please play with him a little bit? Pretty please? I want to do naughty things to him. She laughed. I want to enjoy his punishment. I hate him. I love him. Now I understand why. Rosa tittered again. I want to kill him, Mother. For all his sins, he deserves to die. For a moment, Rosa was shocked by the gravity of her own words. But Mother's voice came to soothe her. That's my darling girl. Make sure you make him suffer for as long as possible. All the pain in the world wouldn't be enough to punish him for the damage he's caused. There was no doubt about that. Regardless of who Guillaume was, whether he was a saint or devil, killing him was the right thing to do. Yes, Mommy dear, I will follow everything you say. But I get to have fun too, right? Rosa lit Eros, bathing her face in the scarlet light cast by the candle. The night went on. The spell buried Guillaume into a deeper slumber. She brought out a gigantic carving knife she'd snuck out of the kitchen. It was almost as long as her forearm. It had been sharpened enough to tear meat from bone. She played with the shiny thing whilst whistling a lullaby. Sleep now, my precious Gilly. Dream of me. Dream and descend into the depths of your personal hell. I hope you like your gift. Rosa giggled while pricking the tip of her tongue with the sharp knife. Let me deliver your atonement. Chapter 7. The Taste of Honey. What in me is dark? No light, but rather darkness visible. But that is not me. What is in me is not me. I have fought with it, lived with it, and survived. Yet we become what we subdue. If that is true, then I was never myself. I am not a monster. Then what are you? Tired. Somewhat irritable. That too. I somehow prefer this side of you. Makes me wonder why I am so stern with you. Why I care so much for your well-being. Why did I even offer you to stay with me? I do not know. You are still so generous, even when you are like this. I give because I can take. Once upon a time there lived, who lost his heart. So he ate others. He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. I never lost it. I have always been cursed without it. Then take mine. Yours? Do you love me? I think you do. Do you know how long I have traveled to find you? How far I've searched? And now you're here. Finally. My heart yearns for you, Guillaume. Well, that was... Nectar flows from the spring of the rose. So yeah, that was, yeah. Fun little bit of, game breaking there. In eminence and obstacle, find none of membrane, joint, or limb. Okay. Exclusive bars. Touch me, Guillaume. My body wants you. My eyes fly open from the groggy mist of confusion. My body is bound in a force that imprisoned my limbs. Chains. The smell of your skin saturates my nose. Sweat. My whole body is tense. Flesh. You walk up to me. You put a finger on my lips and trace it down my neck. Goosebumps break on my skin. You are beautiful. I have noticed before. I knew you were before you even did. But you are pure. Pure. The taste of your love was an unripe fruit. Instead, I've thought of you as something I'd like to protect. Why is that? Your hair flows out like a river as it brushes against my skin. You reach your hand to me, and my stomach curls. There is a tainted power radiating from you that makes me gag, like sugar dissolved in water, like a full belly on the brink of sick. I thought I had forgotten this feeling. I am afraid. You move closer to me, and I startle back. Everything in dreams is slower. You claim my mouth with yours. It tastes just like honey. Spit ropes between our lips, and I feel weaker the more I linger in this dream. A trap. Rosa. What are you doing? Stop this. You giggle. No. You open your mouth and kiss me again. My energy drains from me. I pull my face away. Stop! I don't want this. And yet you want me. Your body agrees. No. You want me too, don't you? Stop it, Rosa. You don't know what you're doing. See, you do love me. You want to protect me. You treat me differently. I have always kept my distance from you. You were always hovering at the edge of my vision. The air is heavy with magic. I will myself to move, but my mind is torn to pieces at the spell. Imaginary hands touch my body and pinch at my flesh. They pull me down and hold me in place. I must escape. I can't move from this dastardly prison. What does it feel like to be helpless? Have you forgotten what it feels like to be a victim? To be weak? Your face begins to change. You are Rosa. You are Catherine. You are Marcus. You are Diomedes. You are Psyche. Your head begins to snap and distort. The skin bubbles and the flesh tears to reveal the pulsing hide of the monster inside. Your glistening heart pumps in your chest. Another face grins as its eyes focus on me. Yeah. That looks like a goofy face. Yet I'm not afraid of this thing and its many mouths. This was nothing but a reflection, a mirror held up to what I really am. I gasp and struggle, but your hands clamp around my neck. One of your tongues licks at the side of my belly, as if sampling the food before the course. You are nothing but a parasite, you see? The other face contorts into a grin. How did you ever think you were powerful? Look at you squirm. You are an insect. It's time for me to swat you. To make you pay for all you have done. Who are you really, Rosa? You smile at my helplessness. The smile breaks your cheek and splits your face in two. Your mouth reveals a gaping hole. Rosa, why are you doing this? Why? Because you are filthy. You eat and you eat. You took all her love, left me with nothing. I've always been at your scraps. I just wanted a bite, that's all. But you had to consume every last bit. My eyes widen at your words as the realization strikes my senses. What did you say? You are... But oh, I forgive you, even if Mother can't. I love you that much. Shut up! I do. Don't you believe me? I struggle with the chains in my mind. Look at you, fighting me so hard. If you just relax, it will all be over soon. My teeth grit with anger. Too many times I have heard the same revolting words, all convincing me to accept my fate lying down, eyes closed. It will be over soon. Anger rips apart my chest. Open your mouth. Twirl around. Shut up. And after all of that, they have the gall to tell me what I am supposed to feel. Little boys aren't supposed to cry. Why do you refuse a lady? Just relax and enjoy it. It will be over soon. Men and women, they are all rabid for desire. They are disgusting. I will not be anyone's toy ever again. I will not be a piece of meat. How dare you humiliate me, you wretched little witch! I rattle the bounds of my cage, and it makes you flinch. You don't notice a part of it splinter. I bare my teeth at you. I will never forgive you. Why are you so cross with me? Don't you see I am doing this for you? Shut your mouth! The creature doesn't stop. It continues to feed on my life. It drools over me with ecstasy. It is never, ever gentle. It grasps my neck and suffocates me as it nears its peak. Yes, mine. You are mine. I struggle out of the creature's grip. I can feel my body weaken and tense at the same time. I concentrate on breaking the spell that holds me in place. But it is hard to escape. My consciousness is frail and almost out of my grip. My lungs are crying out for air. Terror mounts inside me as I feel my life drain away. But perhaps I should stop struggling. Perhaps. Let the monster take me. I am so tired. So tired of fighting. You poor thing. The momentary lapse on the creature's hold lets loose a part of my mind. I gather all my remaining strength and push back at the crack I made a while ago. The spell shatters, and I break free. I do not give the creature a chance to think. I jab my hand into its chest. Momentarily winded and stunned, I hit it again. It falls to its knees. The spell on me weakens. I feel power returning to my body. And yet, the creature laughs, the sound resonating from around me. I am not going to die here. I have sacrificed far too much to perish. The creature's laughter jeers at me. For what? I grasp its neck and watch it choke, relishing the control back in my veins. Yet the creature still laughs. I am not to be mocked, you filthy thing. I am powerful, and I will endure. I have played this game for centuries, and I will not be beaten at my own device. The creature caresses my hand, choking its throat. This. You enjoyed it too, right? I did it all for you. My anger increases the power in my hands. Its mouth titters as I snap its neck. I love you. Guillaume woke up from the dream, weak and shaking. He stood up from the bed and his vision floundered. He fell onto the floor, losing balance from the sudden frailty of his legs. The churning in his stomach wouldn't go away. Every breath was shallow and tasted like sick. He closed his eyes. He laid on the floor for a little while, dragging air into his lungs until the urge to vomit passed. How could darkness still spin without ground? Guillaume's fist balled up in anger. To be degraded into this pathetic state was unforgivable. He felt the fury burning hot in his heart, consuming every thought in his head. He tried to rein it in. It was an unnecessary expulsion of energy at this point. He didn't know how long he lay there in the dark, but soon his strength came back to him. Pushing himself from the floor, Guillaume staggered around his room. He cleaned himself and put on fresh clothes. He could still feel the tugs of odious power within his stomach. He walked to his bedside drawer and looked inside. The old dagger glinted at him with malice. It reminded him of his anger, forged and sharpened over the years. His hatred was distilled in this blade. He gripped the dagger's hilt until red welts formed on his palms. He felt bound by purpose and rage. He could hear her calling out to him. A whisper. A taunt. Guillaume, play with me again. Please? You know where to find me. He shivered as his teeth grinded in his mouth. You will pay for this. Voices wafted around Guillaume's ears. Ever since he woke up from the dream, his vision doubled. He would be walking on the floor one minute, then slipping the next. Guillaume held on to the wall. The spell hadn't ended yet. He hated the feeling of being powerless. That's the plan, Brooke. New weekend, new game. Hey, cutie pie girl. He gripped the dagger, chewing on his lip to keep himself awake. The domain of sleep rendered him most vulnerable. His attacker must have known this too. Guillaume tripped and steadied himself with difficulty. Rosa. So, she was a witch. How come he never noticed before? The years had made him soft. Guillaume clenched his jaw. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was starting to get boring anyway. It was almost time to leave. He just had to deal with Rosa tonight, then he'd pack his bags and leave for Asia. Guillaume smiled despite his nausea. Just you wait, my dear. Hey, cutie pie. I'll pay you back for your contempt. He opened the door to Catherine's room. A red candle shone on the table, painting the room an ominous bloody crimson. The salty musk of sex hung heavy in the air, and Guillaume's vision floundered once again. His anger led him here without enough forethought. Suddenly he felt unprepared. A prickle of fear stained his pride. His hand tightened on the dagger. Guillaume squinted. The dark figure shifted. Low, rousing moans came from the silhouette. The moans increased in speed as he stepped nearer. Guillaume's mouth salivated. A final soft squeal came, and the figure stepped into the light of the candle. Gah. Hi, Gilly. Thanks for waiting for me to finish. I got so excited at the thought of you coming over that I couldn't help myself. It feels good to release pent-up frustration, doesn't it? The woman stepped forward, and Guillaume took a step back, his step faltering. See, you are my biggest frustration. Years, Guillaume, years! I held myself back, fighting my own nature. For what? I don't even know anymore. Sweat dribbled on Guillaume's brow. He wiped it off. Hi, Glitter. Hi, Danielle. He felt his muscles tensing, a clenching in his abdomen, akin to being touched. What do you want? Rosa giggled. Retribution. But not before I get to play around. Mother allowed me just this once. A reward for being a good girl. Guillaume's vision spun as a wave of putrid force hit him. Cold sweat broke on his scalp. Suddenly, it was harder to breathe. He clutched his dagger and brandished it. Release me from the spell now. I'm warning you. That is adorable. She stepped towards him. Guillaume saw a glint of something sharp in one of her hands. Damn. Didn't he sound like a pathetic child just now, whining for his captor to release him? But what could he do? He should have planned this better. Do you really want to fight me, Guillaume? I know how to kill you. A strike to the heart. A wound that will never heal. She taunted in a sing-song way. And this spell, I made this spell especially for you. Your own power of emitting desire is used against you. Makes my spell more powerful, while you become weaker. You must admit, it is impressive. I am more powerful than you, Guillaume. Guillaume choked on his own spit. He dragged air into his lungs, but every gulp seemed to drown him. What does it feel like, being seduced against your own will? She stepped even closer to him, so close that her bosom rubbed on his arm. He couldn't even push her away. His dagger clattered to the floor as she stepped nearer. Her power was double his own. The spell seemed to magnify it with her proximity. She ran her hands over his chest, chasing a finger down his shirt. Getting torn down the middle must be excruciating. Now you know how your victims feel, you dirty monster. Who are you? I am your judge, Guillaume. I am your scourge, your truth. I am like you, a creature that emanates and feeds on desire. But unlike you, I am clean. I am pure. What? Mother's love. She keeps me clean. I am attached to her teat and sucking at her love way after she died. Isn't it wonderful? You should know, Guillaume. You sired me. What rubbish are you spouting now? Rosa took out the locket Guillaume gave her before. The locket was open now. A woman's face was inside. The portrait was blurry, and the face in the picture could belong to anyone. But Rosa cradled it like it was her child. Isn't Mother beautiful? You've probably forgotten her. But she was the most beautiful woman ever. It's no wonder you fell for her, father. You depraved witch! I am not your father! I was never able to. Don't you dare deny it! Mother told me so. Mother is always right. Always! That is why I'm here. Get away from me! I am the angel of vengeance. Oh, father, please understand. You hurt her so much. Her hate only fueled her love. She still loves you a lot. Shut up! Guillaume spat. Stop calling me father. I've never had a child with any woman. Rosa just laughed. Why are you so embarrassed, father? Is it because you are aroused by my body? Do I confuse you? Well, don't hold yourself back. I really love you. Mother loved me too. Our own flesh calls out to us. Isn't it romantic? It is beautiful in its perversion. This got an achievement called Squick! We are creatures of desire. It is an inherently natural phenomenon. Any desire is justifiable, no matter how depraved. You are the very kind of creature I despise. Twisted, greedy, self-righteous. You are nothing but a rabid bitch. Guillaume's hateful words just heightened Rose's pleasure. I love when you call me such dirty words, father. I love it, I love it. If it distresses you, then I won't treat you like my father, but simply a man. Achievement unlocked. Fan disservice. Such little details don't matter to me at all. Love is all you need, isn't it? Love conquers all. Guillaume gritted his teeth. Yes, it does. Mother loved me with her whole heart. She loved me in thought and body. Achievement unlocked. You don't mean... That is why I was able to live through centuries without feeding. Her love is the only love I need. You, on the other hand, you are vile, repugnant, filthy. Rosa licked the sweat off Guillaume's neck. Her tongue slid on his skin so enticingly, the hair on Guillaume's arm stood up. She was so near now. Her skin glistened with sweat. Her lips were red and plump like apples. Guillaume shut his eyes. He must escape. He had to run away. But his mind was torn. A part of him frolicked upon the thought of kissing her neck, pulling her hair, running his lips on her shoulders, pushing her wrists down onto the floor and punishing her. He bit his lip, and his teeth broke through skin. The pain gave him momentary control over his drugged mind. If he didn't find a way to stop the spell soon, it would be his downfall. Oh, but what a temptation you are, you shameless rake. You are enticing in your debauchery. I've been so good all these years, I didn't even feed once. And you just eat and eat and eat to your little heart's content? Where's your discretion, you pig? You even stole away Catherine's love before I got a taste. It's not fair. I don't know what you're talking about. Rosa giggled. Don't play dumb with me. I am the only one who understands your nature. We are two of a kind. You can't lie to me. Then release me. I've done nothing to you. Rosa licked her lips. I'm sorry, darling, but I can't. As long as you exist, I can never have peace. Knowing that you're out in the world, feeding, I'll get jealous, you see. You crazy witch. Rosa just laughed, and Guillaume felt a rising terror as she pressed her body against his. I love you so much. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I can't control myself any longer. You will be my first and last feeding. Did you enjoy your dream of me, Guillaume? I made the spell stronger now. I'll make sure you won't get away this time. Guillaume was silent for a moment. Then, a low snicker escaped from his mouth. What's so funny? You. Pathetic little girl. I pity you. With these words, the spell wavered just a little bit. At least I have the decency to own my curse and not hide under self-righteous proclamations. I get to enjoy the scraps of our despicable lives. And you. How does it taste living under your mother's rotting love? You're probably tired of it by now, aren't you? Mommy's love doesn't taste so good after decades of sucking on it. Guillaume's hunch was correct. The spell was a charm to entice and seduce. It was linked directly to the caster. If he could distract Rosa, the hold of the charm would weaken. Already he felt sensation returning to his fingers. In the end, you're just a leech, feeding off an ancient, decomposing love. It's no wonder you're insane. Rosa pushed Guillaume. His back hit the floor with a thud. She was still powerful. The curse hadn't lost all of its effect. Rosa climbed on top of him. She pushed on his neck with her weight and squeezed. Guillaume groaned. You do not talk about my mother that way. The levels of hate and desire mixed and saturated the air. His mind went blank. I will make you pay for your words. I will suck you dry until you are nothing but a husk. I will devour your mind. I will take it all. Your love will fill me up. But I know Mother's love will still be the best. Guillaume felt a cold, sharp knife savagely tearing at his clothes. Fear shook him awake from his momentary stupor. But he answered this fear with laughter. Take it. Take my body. Make yourself feel good, Rosa. I feel sorry for you. It had been a while since he was violated like this. He thought he was able to run away by being smarter, being dominant. The bitterness of being an object of desire sent a coating of gall up his throat. But he only flashed a sadistic grin. You don't even have to kill me soon. Why not make me your slave? I'm sure that's a worthy punishment for all the victims I've claimed. Rosa stopped again, confused at his words. You're just like the rest of them. He laughed maniacally. Just like everyone else. Go on, darling, why did you stop? He was chuckling now. He stared at Rosa with eyes drenched in malice. Pain sifted through the cracks. It is most humbling to be reminded of my real purpose, Rosa. Use me. Use me for your pleasure, for your vengeance, or your justice. Then throw me away. In the end, we are all just using each other. He laughed again. Love? Love doesn't exist. It is just fear wrapped in a pretty package. Only desire is real. Only need. He looked up at Rosa with a sneer. How much of your mother do you really remember? I don't remember any creature birthing me. Do you? Rosa recoiled. Shut up, you worm. You must admit, this mother you speak of is simply a lunatic who wanted to believe you were her daughter. None of it is real. Rosa's mouth hung open in shock. Must be why it is easy for you to use her memory to justify your filth. That is not true. I love Mother with all my heart. I'm doing what Mother wants. I just follow her orders. I am her vessel. She lives through me. Then answer me this. Why would any mother who loves her child want her to be a murderer? She doesn't love you. She's just using you. Same as how you are using her to survive. Rosa clamped her hands tighter on Guillaume's neck. Shut up! Shut up! I'm doing this because Mother is always right. I am avenging her. Really? Guillaume choked. Go on then. Why don't you ask your mother why you're here? Why you're really here? Maybe she's just enjoying the show. That's not true. Mother loves me. Rosa's eyes lost focus. She struggled to listen to Mother's voice. Mother? Should I really be doing this? Yes. Don't let a silver tongue fool you, child. You have a purpose. This is what you're supposed to do. Why? Have you forgotten all the horrible things he has done, child? He is a monster, and he hurt your mommy. He hurt Catherine. He should pay for everything he has done. But I don't want to kill anyone, Mother. Rosa's grip on Guillaume's neck slackened. Guillaume coughed at the sudden influx of air. Rosa stared at her hands in confusion. Tears started to run down her face. Why do you want me to kill somebody, Mother? Should I really do it? Why should I be the one to kill him? Because you are the only one who can. Child, you have seen his face. You have an opportunity to end his existence. But why should I be the one to kill him? Can't somebody else do that? Mother, I don't want to be a murderer. Please don't make me do it. I am scared. How dare you disobey me? I already told you that you must. I will not stand by your disobedience, you ingrate. Why are you doing this? I said I don't want to do it. Stop making me want to do it. Do you even love me, Mother? Of course I do, child. Then why do you force me to kill someone? Because he is a bad man. He is a bad man and must be killed, my dear. Do you understand this? It is justice. That is not justice. That is just validation. And wouldn't this make me bad too? Killing somebody would make me worse. Of course not, child. You are not bad. Yes, I am. Killing somebody is bad. Not always. Want to get the game? The good news, Smokey, is that it is a free game. Okay. Good night, Addison. This game actually is free. So, easy to get if you want it. It's on Steam. Just free on Steam. Don't patronize me. Who deserves to die? Why should I decide? I don't want to. Tell me the truth, Mother. Why do you want me to kill somebody? Alright, guess it's time for the truth, I guess. Mother laughed in Rosa's head. Because I wanted to see a little blood. I find it entertaining. Is this funny to you? To see lives toyed with? I thought you loved me. You are nothing to me. Rosa sobbed with her knees folded. I hate you. She retreated into a corner of the room and cried. I thought you loved me, Mother. I followed all your words all this time. I endured all your horrible words. I loved you even when you hurt me. What even am I to you? You're nothing to me but a plaything. I don't love you. All I need for you to do is follow my orders. That is all you are good for. Why are you doing this to me? Why have you led me down this path? What? Are you not going to speak again? Have you run out of your gall? Say something! Rosa screamed, her eyes filled with tears. All this time I've spent with you, I have always obeyed you. I loved you, Mother. You were always so cruel to me. So many times you called me a monster, blamed me, and hurt me. Despite the hurt, I never wanted to get rid of you. I thought, to endure the pain. Isn't that real love? To continue hurting proves how true my love is? All my tears should mean something. Nobody told me that was a lie. She continued sobbing, crumpled by the wall, and pulling desperately on her hair. She shouted angrily sometimes, whispered sometimes. Then her head snapped back in alert. She cupped her hands on her ears, her face contorted into worry. Mother? Did you say something? I didn't hear you. But please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say those things. I was just... Please don't be angry. I love you, Mother. Please come back. I'm nothing without you. I don't want to be alone. Rosa sobbed with grief. Just come back to me, Mother. I'll never question you again. Guillaume felt his full consciousness return to him. The sickly, nauseating atmosphere in the room dissipated gradually. The spell was losing effect, but his body still refused to follow his orders. He crawled to where she dropped the large knife. He stretched out his fingers to reach the weapon. You're letting him get away! Kill him, now! Rosa's eyes lost their sadness. She smiled in pure bliss at the sound of Mother's command. She brought her foot down on Guillaume's outstretched hand. Arg! She picked up the meat cleaver. Rosa lifted the blade. The knife struck his chest. Guillaume groaned in pain. She brought it up again. Happy tears fell from Rosa's eyes. You had me so worried, Mother. I'm so happy you're back. I will never question you again. Guillaume sputtered. Flecks of red flew as he laughed. Thank you. I've been waiting for this. Rosa raised the weapon higher and brought it down again. It pierced his heart this time. Guillaume's hands clenched and flailed. But he was laughing at the end. Oh, bliss. The pain was beginning to fade. Every weight he carried shrunk as his heart went into shock. Rosa watched as the life left Guillaume's body. It annoyed her that his face was contorted into a sneer, as if even in death he continued to taunt her. Finally, he stopped moving. She kicked at him with spite. Bastard! I'm glad you're dead. She wiped her hands on her skirt. It's a shame you didn't want to die the fun way, Gilly. You could have lived a little longer. Rosa giggled. No matter. Anyone who disrespects Mother deserves to die painfully. Rosa sighed with satisfaction. What shall I do now, Mother? Mother? Don't do this to me again. Talk to me. Mother? Where are you? I did what I was told. Aren't you proud of me? Rosa burst into tears again. Why are you doing this to me, Mother? Don't you know I love you so much? I do all that you ask. I'm nothing without you, Mother. Please talk to me. Why are you so cruel to me? What did I do wrong, Mother? Whatever it is, I'll do what you want. Just please don't torture me like this. I am afraid of being alone. You evil bitch! Now that you got what you wanted from me, you leave me? I hate you! Are you happy now? Are you satisfied? Rosa fell to the floor and sobbed. Come back. I don't want to be alone, Mother. Please come back. Rosa ran to Guillaume's body in desperation. She dropped the knife. Gilly? Gilly? I'm sorry. Please don't be dead. Rosa touched Guillaume's face and slapped his cheek. Please. You're the only one left. Gilly. Rosa shook his shoulders, calling his name. She attempted to patch up the wound on his chest, scooping the blood back into his body. His body was still warm, but there was no breath left in him. There was no beat in his heart. Rosa had a sudden idea. If I give you my love, will it revive you? If I can take love, can I give it back? Guillaume, I still do love you. I do. She kissed Guillaume's lips, forcing whatever power she had into him. But he didn't move, no matter what she tried. Aren't we supposed to live long lives, Guillaume? We're supposed to be the same. Why are you so fragile? Rosa hit his chest in distress. You can't be dead. I've never been alone. Please don't leave me alone. Rosa began to giggle. Mother is playing with me. Mother, is this a game? You playing hide and seek? She tore at her hair and laughed. Is Gilly also playing? Catherine, come join. Rosa sobbed. Mother! Please. I don't want to be alone. Please. Please. Ending 4. Mutation. Well, there we go. Thanks for playing! Your main purpose was revenge. You called Rosa a monster. You opened Guillaume's locket. You told Rosa that family is the most important thing. You wanted to read more of Guillaume's journal? You took Guillaume's key. 37% complete. So yeah, 4 hours and 5.5 hours. Yeah, 5.5 hours. And that is barely over a third of the game complete. Chapter selections. That's what I thought. You enjoy this? I'm glad, because I enjoy it too. After reading through one of the draft builds, somebody said, you know, if Catherine, Rosa, and Guillaume had just had a threesome, all their problems would have been solved. So if there ever was an alternate end, it would probably be like, and they had a threesome and lived happily ever after. It brings tears to my eyes. All right. I accidentally duplicated Guillaume's facial expression to another project, which had a teapot. Okay, that's pretty good. Is enough to prove the theory? Does Guillaume's face fit on everything? Clearly. Alright, that's amusing. Goal number 1. Sexually confuse straight female players. Goal number 2. Mommy issues. Goal number 3. Daddy issues. The end. Alright, so so that's that game over and done with. So next week, the game I played next week. Jeez, Validate gets a lot of updates. Yeah, so next week I will play another game, another spooky themed game. Next one I play is going to be a game called Take the Dream 9, which is like an RPG maker game, but it's very weird and unsettling. So that'll be next week's game. And then Saturday, and then the weekend after that. So yeah, that'll be next Saturday. The Saturday after that, I'm going to be moving, so that I won't be doing any gaming on October 29th. Saturday, October 29th, I don't imagine I'll be live, or if I go live, I'll have just moved, so probably not going to be up for much on that day. But starting in November, I will get back to Our Life. So starting November, back to Our Life, but I will probably also I'll probably also start sort of alternating that with the game Validate. So figure a couple weeks of Our Life and then a couple weeks of Validate, which is a dating simulator. So anyways, now at 3.5 hours for this, which is definitely longer than I like to go for, and definitely ready to give my throat a break. So I'm going to call it a night. And thank you all for coming. Which time? Key normally it's around 7 or 8, usually around 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Not sure what the time would be in Netherlands. But about 3.5 hours ago. So, whatever time it is in Netherlands right now, subtract 3.5 hours. That's when I usually start streaming on days that I stream. So, start at 7 next. Probably right around 7 or 8. It'll depend on, me. But, anyways, yeah, I am ready to end for tonight. So, thanks for watching. Glad that you got some enjoyment out of it. And hopefully I'll see y'all tomorrow for Sunday live stream. Or since it's October, I guess Sunday dead stream.